Ready, Barry?
Oh,
Call the meeting to order of the Wright County Planning Commission for October 10th. First on the meeting agenda tonight is for minutes from September 19th. Has everybody been able to look them over? And if so, do I have a motion to approve?
I would move so, Mr. Chair.
Do I have a second?
I second it.
Motion made and seconded. Is there any discussion? Is there any discussion? If there's no discussion, all those that approve signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same way. Motion carries. Before we start in on the first one, I just want to make announcement that as we go through on any testimony that we have tonight, I'd like to keep it till 4 minutes, if at all possible. And then also, there should be a sign-in sheet. Give your name for the record, please. And then there's also a sign-in sheet there at the podium. If you could sign your name and your address there, it would be well appreciated. With that being said,
Mr. Chairman, one other additional item for the agenda.
yes?
I would like to petition on the end of the agenda, a quick discussion about that December meeting. If the commission remembers, we'd changed the time of that meeting. I'd like to have a bit of discussion on that at the end of the meeting, please.
All right, so noted. All right, first one on the agenda tonight is Cole Shake. Is he here tonight?
Mr. Chairman, we did get correspondence from a representative from Mr. Shake. He is actually in the Carolinas doing cleanup with his tree company, and he couldn't make it. We did advise to have somebody here, and apparently his realtor couldn't make it either. At this point, I'm not gonna guess whether somebody is or isn't gonna show up. They did not say. He said it doesn't look like it. So at this point, I would recommend we hold it over to the end of the agenda. And if nobody shows up then we can address it at that time.
Okay, thank you, Barry. Number 2 on the agenda, then we'll move to Robin Reese. Reese, do you want to come up and give your name, please?
Robin Brzee.
All right, Barry, when you are ready.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, we did have some discussion on this at the end of our last meeting. If the commission recalls, it was held over and then continued for site inspection. It is located along 142nd Street Northwest and Dempsey in between 142nd and Lock Lake. The parcel is larger than that portion that is being requested for rezoning. They're only looking at rezoning that portion in between 142nd Street and the lake to R1. It is currently zoned general agriculture. It is in the long-range plan for R1, that portion north of 142nd Street, and totals roughly 3 acres. We do have a concept plan for the 2 lots. That subdivision request, and actually it'll end up being a preliminary plat, will come in after or provided the rezoning gets approved. So this is the first stage, which is the rezoning. We did have approval from Silver Creek Township, and we did not receive any other comments.
Okay, thank you.
And the site inspection was done on Monday.
Yes.
Anything you'd like to add to that?
No?
Okay, I will open it up to the public. Is there anyone from the public that would like to comment on this matter? Anyone from the public? If not, we'll bring it back up here to the board. And how would the board like to proceed, or do we have any questions, concerns after the site inspection?
No.
I think it's pretty straightforward.
If that be the case, are we ready for a motion?
Mr. Chair, I'm prepared to make a motion to recommend approval to the County Board of Commissioners to rezone that portion of parcel 216-100-214-400 north of 142nd Street Northwest from Ag General Agriculture and S2 Residential Recreation Shoreline to R1 Urban Rural Transition and S2 Residential Recreational Shoreline because it finds the property is aligned with the goals and policies of the Northwest Quadrant Land Use Plan.
All right,
Second that.
I have a motion and a second. Do we have any further discussion? Any further discussion? If not, all those that approve signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same way. Motion carries. Thank you.
The next step is what?
Jerry, do you want to help her with that?
Yeah, the next step is this recommendation will go to the county board at their next available meeting that we can get it on. Once the county board has approved it, then you can submit the preliminary plat application.
And I will be notified by mail on when the next county board is?
I have to see the dates.
I had written down November 5th when I was here in September, but that's,
The county board,
November 5th, I think is the next one we can get it on.
November 5th, these are usually on consent, there is no comment.
Yeah, so you don't have to come to that. It's on the consent agenda, so they won't take any public comment.
Oh, okay.
You can come just to see it.
Okay.
But there's no public comment. This is the public hearing portion. And then we will notify you.
Okay.
I'll have Josh probably give you a call, you or your sister a call,
All right.
who's ever listed on here.
Okay.
Of the result of that and letting you know that next step can be applied for. Here's the information we need.
okay, thank you very much.
Thank you. Number 3 is Ryan Nelson. You want to give your name for the record, please?
I'm Ryan Nelson.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, this property is in Silver Creek Township as well. It's 88 acres. This is kind of a two-step request. The commission has seen a couple of these lately. It's a request to rezone a very small portion of the property so that it can be attached to a neighboring property. So this is the rezoning request. We'll see where it goes, but there's steps in here. So with these, we're kind of, we haven't gotten many of these, and now we're starting to see a few. So the previous one, we kind of did a little bit different. This one, we took in both applications at the same time. If everything gets approved and everything else, then there's motions in in the second portion of this, which is the next item, that would then take care of it if it were all to get approved. There would be some conditions on it based on county board approval. So in this case, what we have is, in this area, you can see that box in red is what he wants to rezone, and then attach that to the neighboring property to the west, which is R2A zoned. And so because of how that R2A lot was created, it's a duly approved residential lot that has been rezoned. The Board of Adjustment can't do a lot line adjustment because now you're attaching a split. For one, it's split zoned, and two, the Board of Adjustment doesn't have jurisdiction over duly created lots. They have some jurisdiction to do lot line adjustments over lots of record, but that is not what that parcel that ends in 104 is. That is a actually approved lot by the Planning Commission. So in order to make an adjustment and have it be done right, we need to rezone the sliver and then redo a new one lot unplatted subdivision to incorporate the sliver of land into the bigger parcel. So they've submitted all the applications for this. This is that rezoning stage. We did receive approval from Silver Creek Township for that sliver of rezoning. It does not create any additional buildable parcels. It is strictly for the purpose of adding additional land to a neighboring property without any building rights attached to it.
Okay.
And in this case, Mr. Nelson's a farmer. He really doesn't care to have the woods. He's fine selling it to his neighbor, but because of how these lots were created, this is the process we have to go through.
Anything you would like to add to that?
Yeah, Barry nailed it. So that's exactly what's going on here. It's a property that I purchased a few years back, and the neighbors are, it's Ray and Marilyn, and I have that chunk of woods. It's an old pasture lane, and that's why it's woods, and it does me no benefit, and they would really like it. Because I was talking about maybe taking some trees down, and so through that process, they said, instead of taking trees down, why don't we just purchase it from you? So then I came to planning and zoning, of course, and I talked to Josh, and Josh said, oh, it's a little bit more complicated than just splitting it off because of the rezoning thing. So that's exactly what it is. I'm obviously I'm like a 1 per 40 and they're like that 1 per 10 or something. So just want to rezone my sliver to match theirs, so then they can accept it in their PID, which is obviously what Barry was talking is the next step. So that's what I'm looking to do.
Okay. Anybody here? Otherwise, I'll open it to the public. Is there anyone in the public that would like to comment on this? Anyone from the public that would like to comment? If there's no one from the public, we'll bring it back up here. And do we have any questions, concerns?
Mr. Chair, the 2.4 acres, that's not under a separate PID at the time, correct?
Currently, it is not. No, that's just a
Part of
drawing.
1301?
Yeah, it's part of
Okay.
1301. That's our drawing, just to give an aerial depiction of what's getting moved.
Right.
I did not include it in here, but we do have a survey of that. On that survey is called Tract E. And so in the next phase, and this is one of those, if you're not going to approve one, don't approve the other type of thing, because we don't want this sitting out there on Ryan's land as R2A. And if you say no to then the new subdivision, now he's got a residentially zoned piece of property that is no good for anything because it's not big enough to have a lot. And so there's conditions built into the next phase. We can't condition the rezoning because it's a quasi-judicial or quasi-legislative decision by the county board. So we can't condition it. It's either rezoned or not. But we can place conditions on that next piece, which is the subdivision portion, which the staff report will explain that out in the next item because it's directly following this.
Mr. Nelson, good evening. What assurances do you have now? You don't end up with a 2.4 acre parcel zoned other than your farmland. Let's say that happens. Is that going to be a problem? Let's say the deal falls through with your neighbor? And you end
Of
up,
course, there's a possibility of what you're bringing up, but the odds of that are basically slim to none. It was approached to me. This has been talked about for a few years, because I purchased a property like 3 years ago, and since purchasing, I split off the house, and then we split up the entitlements that were with that, and then there was a bigger piece, a 20-acre piece that was split up. So this has been talked about since the beginning that they were interested in it. How do I'm sure it's gonna go through.
okay, very well, thank you.
Yep.
Any other concerns or questions?
Nope.
I'd like to make a motion.
Janice?
A motion for approval of rezoning of that portion of tax parcel 21610361301 noted as Tract E on the survey prepared by O'Malley and Crone Land Surveyors, Inc., job number 2021-800, dated 8/14/2004, from AG General Agricultural and S2 Shoreland to Suburban Residential, R2A, with a residential recreational shoreland district overlay, S-2, to the Wright County Board of Commissioners.
I'll second that.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Is there any other discussion? Any other discussion? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same way. Motion carries.
Thank you.
Good luck with the next step.
Thanks.
Speaking of,
Yep. The next one is Marilyn Henningsen.
well, I'll just jump right into it, Mr.
And so-
Chairman. This is the second part of that step. As you can see by the notice map, we've included their parcel on this one. The rezoning is just the one because we're only rezoning that portion of the one. And so this is the survey. I should have really flipped it. Oh, no, that is right. And so this is, Tract E is that acreage that will be attached. I do have, I will pull up another drawing of it here in just a second. I didn't include that in. So we went over this. Silver Creek Township has approved of this portion of it. As noted, it's contingent on the rezoning, so as you can see in a proposed motion, if the commission does approve, if the county board does approve the rezoning, there is a condition that this subdivision is contingent upon that, so they couldn't realize the subdivision till after November 5th, provided we get everything on for that meeting, which we should be able to. And then a couple of other conditions on here, which would include full survey be submitted, because as of right now, we don't have a full survey of that acreage plus the 2.5. We have a concept sketch, which I said I'll bring up, but we don't have the full survey, and then the parcels to be combined at the time of transfer. So when Ms. Henningsen purchases it, there'll be a form she signs, and it'll be added to her existing tax parcel. So we don't have the 13 acre plus a 2.5 acre as another parcel. So if that's not possible, which there could be for some reasons, mortgage purposes, those types of things, then they would be required to sign the deed restriction in our office, which we do pretty standard on a lot of different properties. So if you give me just one moment and have other discussion, I'll pull up that other piece of information that we did get that I forgot to put in.
Any other discussion?
There it is. That's kind of what the entirety of the tract would then look like.
Okay.
So,
Any other discussion? Any other concerns of what's being asked for? If not, do I have a motion?
Do you have to public hearing? No?
Oh, sorry. Is there anyone from the public that has any concerns on this again? Is there anyone from the public? If not, we'll bring it back up here. Now, is anybody prepared to make a motion or have any concerns or discussion?
I'll make a motion to approve a conditional use permit for one lot unplatted subdivision that attaches Tract E on the survey prepared by O'Malley and Crone Land Surveyors, Inc., job number 2021-800 dated 8/14/2024 to tax parcel 216-100-363104 with the following conditions. 1, county board approves of the rezoning request. 2, a full survey of the resulting lot be provided to the planning and zoning prior to transfer. And 3, parcels be combined into one parcel number at the time of transfer, or an administrative order be signed by the property prior to transfer.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Motion made and seconded. Is there any further discussion?
just one quick bit, after property in that third condition, it should be property owner. I missed the owner part.
What was that again, Barry?
In the third condition, signed by the property prior to, it should be signed by the property owner.
Okay, yeah, that's fine.
Okay.
Okay with that?
Yep, I'm okay with that.
All right, any other discussion? There's no other discussion. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, same way. Motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Number 5 tonight is Big Rig Companies. Is there anyone here for that?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, the applicants have been to the township. There has been discussion at the township level, and there's some concerns, and the original township response included a denial. And so the applicants contacted us, and they wanted to table it for the time being. They do want to work with the developer and the township on some potential solutions to the concerns that the township and the residents in the area have. So as such, they've requested continuation to the November meeting. We'll be having more discussions with them between now and then, because some of the potential solutions could include a need to adjust the subdivision, which then gets into really tricky stuff. So for right now, we're just going to give them some time, or, they've asked for some time to work through some things, and how this ultimately plays out with this particular application is yet to be determined. So they have asked for continuation to November 7th, and I'm recommending that the commission make that motion.
All right,
I'll make the motion that we continue.
do I have a second?
I'll second that, Mr. Chair.
Motion made and seconded. Is there any discussion?
Yes.
Go ahead, Mr. Bravender.
Mr. Chair, according to what Barry had written here, it had to do with the turnaround for the trucks, is that correct?
As well as some other issues based on the township response, which was in your preliminary packet.
I guess
Or no, it
just,
was not.
just a comment, because I know Silver Creek is here tonight, just a comment on 148th Street. At the next meeting, I would like to hear how that's gonna handle the traffic and if it's gonna support it or not, or what has to be done, anything pertaining to that, because we drove through there and it's a little rough right now. So that was my only comment.
Okay. Do we have any other comments? Okay, do we have a motion to continue?
Yeah, I made the motion.
Motion, okay, I need a second then.
No, the motion was made and seconded, and then the other discussion is that I was going to make was that let's make sure that in that motion, it includes, the reason is for them to work through issues with the township.
Okay,
Okay,
is that
we
good
can
with you?
include that, yep.
Ken, you had the second. Is that okay? All right. If there's no other discussion, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same way. Motion carries. All right, number 6 on the agenda tonight is Paul Shellquist. If you want to come up and give your name, and we'll get started.
Good evening. Just a correction, I'm not sure how it happened, but it's not Paul, it's Pete, so.
Okay,
that-
sorry for that.
No, it's quite all right.
When you're ready, Barry.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, this is a 6.9 acre property that's located between County Road 39 and the Mississippi River in Monticello Township. The property is legislatively delegated as a wild and scenic property. So the zoning on this is wild and scenic. Wild and scenic zoning is a zoning district established by rule by the Department of Natural Resources, because this is a recreational river. And so the standards for this are, in order to subdivide, a minimum of 2 acres and 200 feet of frontage at the ordinary high water mark, the building line, and for the county, we also include that as the road standard as well. And so this request is a platted subdivision of the 6.9 acre lot. Interesting thing, I will back up just a plan. The land use plan has this as agricultural residential. I do believe at the time when these plans were done, how previous administrators had kind of handled what would be agricultural type of areas within the wild and scenic was to actually do similar to what we do in our general ag district, which is the entitlements and moving around, and you had to rezone, and minimum lot sizes were based on the zoning districts. When I read through the ordinance, there is nothing within the wild and scenic district that includes any of that. And so, to me, this actually should be more, instead of rural residential, it should be actually wild and scenic in the plan, because there is no way to change it. You can't change the zoning of the wild and scenic district. There was also the previous administrators would treat large agricultural tracts similar to other ag districts and assign them by entitlements. I haven't been doing that. I've been following the ordinance the way it's written, which says if you have a parcel, if you can get 2 lots that meet the minimum requirements as defined in that district, you could potentially subdivide. We did see one up a couple of years ago in Silver Creek Township. This is a similar situation in Monticello Township, where he can get the minimum requirements to do 2 lots, at least as far as we can tell. I will get to that in a minute. And so that's why this request does not include any rezoning. It jumps right to that subdivision stage. Subdivision ordinance says any lots created less than 5 acres require platting. So in this case, we're looking at 2, 3+ acre lots, and that's why the platting requirement is there. We do have that preliminary plat, which we see here. Now, to get to that piece, you can notice in the staff report, in the kind of the summary stage, we're supposed to see where the minimums are and verifying that were met. In this case, that west lot, I just noticed it today, we actually don't have that. I did put a ruler on it. I think it's gonna meet it, but I don't know for sure until the surveyor puts that on there. In addition, the county highway department has made a comment that they need to have a shared access along the common property line. They have reviewed the preliminary plat, and so as part of the preliminary plat requirements, all easements need to be in the plat. So in this case, I don't know how deep that driveway needs to go into the property in order to be useful for 2 lots. I would like to have the surveyor place that on this preliminary plat. If easements are going to be there, they need to be and are required to be on the preliminary plat. We don't have that. And so there is some work here, and I left a voicemail for the surveyor today, and he didn't get back to me, so I don't have an answer as to why it's not on there and verification that anything can be met. And so I'm making that suggestion that we, kind of look at that, but we should have full comment here before we get to that piece. So we also did get approval from Monticello Township for the platted subdivision. Did not receive any other comments than those 2, Highway Department and the township.
Okay, thank you, Barry. Is there anything you'd like to add to that?
No.
Okay, is there anyone from the public that would like to comment on this matter? Is there anyone from the public? If there's no one from the public, then we'll bring it back up here. And do we have any questions, concerns?
Chairman, well, just because there's so many questions, and I do think this would probably also benefit if we did a site visit to this. Can we maybe do a site visit and then do with the surveyor? And then come back next month?
That's up to you.
That's-
You're looking at me, but it's up to you.
yeah, that's up to
Okay.
you.
I think that,
But would the surveyor have enough time in that time?
I would assume so.
Okay.
Are there any, and there again, this is a good time for any other questions, concerns, because if there's any other alterations that the commission might want to see, now would be the time to do it. The one thing that we want to verify is that those minimums are met. Because the thing would be, is if he can't, there is no variance to that. This just has to go away. We have another concern. We talked to a neighboring property owner, but they did not comment as we suggested, so I don't have, I would feel remiss to make it a big issue right now, but it's another question I have for the surveyor is verification of some other information, because that could drastically impact the subdivision.
yeah, I think we should have a site survey.
I make a motion, we go forward with the site visit.
Continue until November.
Continue till November.
Okay, do I have a second?
I'll second that.
Motion made and seconded to have a site inspection and continue until the November meeting. Is there any discussion?
May I make a comment? It's just,
I've got,
okay.
finish up here. We've got a motion on the floor, and is there any discussion amongst us? If not, all those in favor of continuing and continue until the November meeting and a site inspection, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same way. Motion carries. And I guess, did you have anything you'd like to add?
Only that I was at the property after the surveyor had been out there. I did not see any stakes where the division line is between the 2 lots. There are stakes for where the soil borings are. So when you do your site visit, it may not be perfectly clear on where the
Which I think would be fine. I mean, we're generally just looking at the general character of the lot, making sure it's something that the commission feels is a good spot for a subdivision.
If it would be possible, if the surveyor could put some stakes, or if you do some measuring, just to give us an idea, would be helpful. It's not necessarily required, but it would be helpful.
understood.
Okay?
All right, thank
All
you
right.
very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Just 1 second, Mr. Chairman.
Okay.
Sorry, Mr. Chairman.
That's okay. Number 7 on the agenda tonight is James Ronan. If you want to come up, give your name, please, for the record.
Hi, Travis Baranin.
All right, Barry, when you're ready.
Yes, Mr. Chairman. So this property involves a 10-acre rezoning out of a 61.69 acre parcel. The start of this stems back to a Board of Adjustment hearing that granted a lot line adjustment to divide off 10 acres of the farm parcel to the north of what is J&J Dock and Marine. So basically this view here. And so in order for things to proceed here, we actually went through the process of a lot line adjustment to attach property to the J&J Dock and Marine 2 parcels, which were originally approved in the 90s, early 2000s, 2006 actually, I think it was. And then that adjustment was then contingent upon rezoning and basically a re-subdivision, because we'll have to do a re-subdivision once this is all said and done, similar to what we had done before. So in this case, this is the rezoning portion of this parcel, or this portion of the parcel, to B1 highway business from general agriculture with the express intent of expanding the commercial operation for J&J Dock and Marine. That's the summary of it. I do have a survey of specifically of that 10 acres. Township has approved. We didn't receive any other comments. This would then follow up with another kind of subdivision request to kind of put all parcels together for this operation. And then at the same time, we'll probably have them apply for that IUP as one hearing. So in this case, we're doing things just a little bit different because of the existing operation that's there. We want to make sure that rezoning gets done first, because if that isn't done, all the rest of it kind of goes to pieces. But we had to set that 10 acres through the Board of Adjustment before we can do anything else, because the property the 10 acres is coming from was established by the Board of Adjustment by an order. So it got really complicated, even worse than the one we just did in Silver Creek. So that's why this process is a little bit different, because again, the history is just a little bit different. So that's where we're at with it, Mr. Chairman.
All right. Do you have anything you want to add to that?
No, sir. Summed it up.
Okay. Is there anyone from the public that would like to comment on this matter? Anyone from the public that would like to comment? If not, we'll bring it back up here. And does everybody understand what we're doing?
This is just for the rezoning that we're voting on now, right?
Correct.
Mr. Chair, I'm prepared to make a motion.
Okay.
I would recommend this board recommend to the approval to the County Board of Commissioners to rezone that portion of parcel 217-000 153101 noted on the survey by Otto Associates, project number 24-0138, dated 2-2324, from Ag General Agricultural to B1 Highway Business, because it finds the property is aligned with the goals and policies of the Northeast Quadrant Land Use Plan the township approves, and will be attached to the neighboring business parcels.
All right, I have a motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Motion made and seconded. Is there any discussion? There's no discussion. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, same way. Motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, number 8 tonight is Arbor Creek Holdings LLC. You want to give your names for the record, please?
Bernie Miller.
Jason Verstegen.
Right, when you are ready.
I have to make the comment. It's
Okay.
awful late for you to be out and about, isn't it, Bernie?
Yeah, for sure.
Yes. And for those that weren't here when the meeting started, there's a sheet there for signing in. Please give your name and address on that along with the statement. And then also, anybody here to testify other than the applicants, if we can hold our comments to 4 minutes.
I should stand up. I'm part of this team. My name's Ken Meek.
Okay. I guess when you're ready, Barry.
I'll let them get settled, just
Okay.
finish filling their stuff out.
What was the first gentleman's name?
Bernie Miller.
Nope,
Me?
Yep.
Jason Versteg.
thank you.
I'd like to ask the name of the fellow with the blue shirt on.
Bernie Miller.
Gordon Miller.
Bernie.
Bernie, okay, thank you.
All right, when you're ready, Barry.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, this is a property that's familiar to the commission. This is the third hearing application for land alteration and an amendment to the original CUP that required houses be built above the bluff. This request, or the property is 7.69 acres, zoned R2A, and is part of the Hannah's Landing subdivision. This request includes the movement of approximately 3,493 cubic yards of material within the shoreland district, requiring then the CUP, and as mentioned, an amendment to the condition that the house be built above the bluff. Site plan is included here, and this is where all the plans have been included in the packet with calculations for cut and fill where we get the 3,493 cubic yards along with stormwater management plan. So all the appropriate plans have been submitted. I don't know how in-depth the board wants to get there. Again, we're very familiar with the property. We understand what they're trying to do. Ultimately, it comes down to the plan that they have and the amount of material and the request for the amendment. All you members have been to the site, you understand the site. This is a significant change from the first request and even a significant change from the second. So roughly, the first request, if the commission recalls, of 14,000, 15,000 cubic yards. Second request is about half of that at 7,700 yards. This request is half of that request at about 3,500 yards. And so each subsequent request we've had, they've dropped the request down in half. Still considered significant in the shoreland area. That's why we require the CUP. Anything over 50 cubic yards requires a CUP. This is still a very, very significant amount of fill, but significantly less than the first two plans that we had before us. We did include the rough drawings of the house plans, as well as you had seen previously, the actual excavation plans themselves and the engineered plans for that. The township has recommended denial of the request because the original development approved the house above the bluff. We did also receive comment from the Greater Lake Sylvia Association through their council, which was included in your packet. We have another response from them that came just today that is included in your folders. So that is in addition to the one that's in the packet itself. We did receive 7 comments from property owners on Lake Sylvia recommending approval and supporting the request. As well, we did get an additional one of those after the staff report packet was prepared. That's in your packet as well. So you do have access to all of those at your disposal.
Okay, thank you, Barry. Anything you would like to add?
Sure. Yeah, Mr. Chair, members of the committee, commission. Yeah, I think you all are familiar, and I think you'd probably realize it's very important to Josh and Sarah to continue on with this. And, you know, there was a lot of concern with a number of things in the past, applications with siltation, concern about siltation, concern about, you know, drainage onto the neighbors, concern with how much fill it is, concern with, you know, if it's going to have long-term impacts to the bluff or degrade the quality of the lake or any of that. And so I think that you know, they brought us all in involved, an engineer, environmentalist, excavator, everyone, builder, everyone we can to look at how we can address all them things and look at it and make it better. And, you know, I'd like to add a few things, but, you know, and I'm not responsible for the design. Jason came up with the idea of how to change the design. I think it's a great plan of how we did it, and that is actually was a road that's there, existing road that was there that was kind of overlooked previous to this. And I do have some pictures, but I don't know if you guys were out there and did a site visit. I don't know if people would have even seen this, but it actually is a road that comes down, that came down there before. And right now it's currently just like riprap mostly in there. And so the trees are cleared. And so the design utilizes that way down, and it's basically rise over run. So instead of building this big land bridge to get down there, you know, if you can increase the run by curving around that side. This already does control drainage, does its part, but the design actually does a better job of pulling drainage away from neighboring properties, eliminates a ton of fill. And, you know, the DNR has been, again, I think you remember from the past, they typically won't say they approve something, but if they don't like it, they will say they don't like it. And so I've talked to James Bedell, and, you know, he's okay with this plan. You know, we have an engineered SWIP plan. We have it all done. I think some of the concern with the bluff is, you know, digging out the bluff would unstabilize it and removing trees. So this is an area that has mostly been cleared already or is a clearing down the main portion of it. And the fill, we're putting fill on the bluff, which doesn't degrade the slope of the bluff. So just a couple highlights on the design, and Jason can maybe add more. The house, with the way we did this design here, we're actually able to pull the house back from the lake. So even though they could go up to 75 feet to the lake without a variance, the house is back now at 102 feet. So we've increased that setback there, actually lowered the grade down before the grade was set up so that it would flow from the yard straight towards the lake. So now this design leaves that ice ridge that was in there for the most part, except for the sides. So the water is gonna basically sit there. And, you know, we have some pictures in that, and I have some pictures to show you the roadway and stuff if you'd like, or the space down there. You know, there was talk that it was flooded and all this. I mean, they were down there the whole year with their campers. It's not wet. It's, you know, it's lower, yeah, it's above the lake, but it's not by any means wetland or anything. And it is, the water, when it does rain, the water soaks in basically before it gets to the lake. So we're not trying to, I mean, they want to do everything they possibly can. They certainly don't want to do anything to damage the lake or anybody else's property or anything else. So that's the main concern why everybody was brought in and looking at how we could possibly do that along with the construction of it. You know, the whole team has been brought in on that, and I'll let Jason maybe talk some other things. And if you want to see some of these pictures, I can certainly show you these. Let me show you the one first just to get a perspective of, this is I don't know, maybe if you don't mind.
What?
Here, Bernie, we got a document camera.
All right. Does that work?
This is the road that
Yeah,
crosses over the neighbor's land?
No, this is the road that's on the property off on the east side. And as you can look here, this is where it comes down and curves here. You can see the neighbor's garage over there. So this is the path that this new driveway would be taking. And it already exists. This will require some fill on it, but
Neighbor have a driveway running right next to it?
no, if you look at the survey, it's not really right next to it. Barry, can you
Yep.
pull that plan up and show? Yeah, I don't know, what's that, 60 feet between the two driveways, I suppose?
I don't have anything farther out in the PowerPoint, about as far out as I have.
I can show you. So this is a picture of the, there's a few pictures of this summer. You can put the dot cam back up, maybe. Too bad that don't zoom in. So you can see this area. This is from the lake looking back. You can actually see the stakes, some stakes in the foreground. That's actually the stakes from the, what was previously approved, which is hard to maybe realize, or that was the previous location of the house, so this is another additional 20 feet back. This is the view you can see from the lake, so you can see the stakes in there, the property line over on that side. And you can see the ice ridge that exists in there now, that's vegetated.
Mr. Chair? Bernie?
Yeah.
Yeah. What do the stakes represent right now?
Them stakes were, what was, this, they had the house stake for their the previous application of where the house would be. And this is back, so this would be back, they would be back another 20 feet from that. So this picture was taken when, must have been shortly after, I think. What's that? Yeah, so that was at 80 feet and now we're at 102 feet. So, you know, considerably further back, just because, partially because of how we did the driveway, we can pull the house back further, so. Okay. Yeah, here's another picture. Basically, that's with no stakes in there. So it's a considerable flat area from there to the lake. It's not like it's a significant slope. So any water that comes down there is gonna have a really hard time actually getting to the lake. And, you know, I think that, you know, from our standpoint or my standpoint, I would be more concerned with the construction aspect of it that possibly, but still there's still so much room from where you get down to the bottom of the bluff to where the lake is, and there's still an ice ridge with silt fence and everything else. I don't see how you could possibly have anything get into the lake. I mean, maybe have a hurricane or something, I don't know, but we'd have more problems if that was the case, I think, so. And a couple other things quick, that with the township, I think that and I don't know if it reflected in 100% in the minutes, but they thought the plan was a great improvement, but they couldn't get over the fact it was presented with the lots on top, and that's what they approved. So.
All right, thank you, Bernie.
Jason, I'll leave if you have.
Yeah,
have
thank
any
you.
questions.
Mr. Chair, could I ask Barry a question?
Yeah, go ahead.
Barry, this map right now we're looking at, who produced that?
Mr. Versteeg did.
That was me.
Okay, so my question then, on Lot 5, there's a home depicted there. That doesn't exist, does it?
No, it says proposed home.
That's a proposed home.
Right.
Correct?
Yes.
Yes, right here.
He's asking about
me.
the adjacent block,
No,
Barry.
go back
The
one
adjacent
screen,
lot.
please. The home depicted on Lot 5 is the
Lot 5,
proposed home.
yes, that's proposed as well. Yes,
Okay,
they have
that
not
was my
applied.
question, as well as the driveway.
Lot 5 and Lot 6 have to go through this process to build homes below the bluff. That is the condition on the subdivision approval.
So let me be clear. Are you stating that a potential house location for Lot 5 has to be depicted on here in order to?
No, it doesn't have to be depicted. They just did. My assumption would be is they took portions of this from the original plat approval, which the preliminary drawings had houses below the bluff. And then they got redrawn with the condition that everything be drawn above the bluff. So if they took
Okay,
renditions of things.
Mr. Administrator, all I'm trying to do here is make it clear that home does not exist.
Correct.
Thank you.
All right, you can have the floor.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, again, my name is Jason Versteg, an engineer out of Princeburg, Minnesota. I was not involved in the first two go-arounds of this, but I have known the Pomerleaus for quite some time. I have done a fair amount of civil engineering work for their development company. And so they asked me to come in this time around to just basically get a fresh set of eyes and see if we could do something better here that would be acceptable to the Planning Commission and those that are looking to gain approval for this project. So that I did that. I wanted to just point out a few things that changed from the original two sets of plans. And some of these things have been mentioned already, but I'll just highlight them again. The first one, obviously, was that the current design shifted the driveway to the east to much more closely follow the existing grade while maintaining a maximum of 15% longitudinal slope along the drive. This allowed us to reduce the fill in the bluff by about 8 feet from what was a maximum fill of 14 to 16 feet to now a maximum fill of 6 to 8 feet in the current design. This also allows us to eliminate or greatly reduce the need for retaining walls that were included in the original design as well, or in the previous design. As part of that, providing a hard surfaced road down, and then we're gonna cross slope that back into a curb and gutter that runs along the high side of or the bluff side of the drive. So that curb and gutter then will direct that drainage down to a catch basin, and where we'll be able to discharge the runoff in a controlled manner with energy dissipation and riprap to dissipate that energy before it continues on to the south. We also reduced, the current design reduced the finished floor elevation from what was originally 1057.7 to now 1057.5 to now 1055.35, which is 4 feet above the highest known water elevation and 4.85 feet above the ordinary high water level, which is a reduction of 2.15 feet from the original design. Current design also largely leaves the ice dam intact, except just on where the swales exit on either side of the house. The original design actually showed removal of the ice dam, and so this plan allows us to keep the ice dam intact and direct just runoff into those swales. Ultimately, though, with the soils that are on site, we don't anticipate much of any runoff into the lake, as the soils are very sandy, and we anticipate that those swales will just basically act as large rainwater gardens type of thing, so infiltration basins. And so only on I would say very large storms would you have maybe discharge from the site. So current, like was mentioned before too, the current design shifted the house back from the lake an additional 22 feet roughly, so it's now approximately 102 feet back from the ordinary high water level, as opposed to 80 feet previously. So, and then probably the biggest thing, all of this allowed us to reduce the amount of cut by 60 yards, but more impactful, we were able to reduce the amount of fill by 4,745 cubic yards. So as you see, I think in your packet, you do see kind of a comparison of what was original and what we have now. And as you can see in the current plan, the raw cuts and fills, the raw earthwork numbers show the cut and fill very close to balancing. And basically, the difference there is the surfacing materials that will come in. So the gravel, asphalt, concrete, and whatnot, sand base. That's essentially what makes up the difference. But as far as the earthwork on site, it's really going to balance. So we're not going to be bringing in large amounts of, or any dirt borrow material into the site. The site will be able to balance using the material on site, except for the surfacing materials that we use. So other than that, that's probably there's other things, minor things, but those are the major things that I think probably impact your thoughts on this project, as I understand them. I think there was concern for the amount of fill that was in that, below the bluff line, and this greatly reduces that. And so I think that's, in our minds, that was huge, so.
Does anybody else in your team want to speak
Okay.
first? Let's get the whole team.
Okay. Yeah, I guess piggyback on what engineer had to say. My name's Ken Meek from Earth Science Associates, and my company specializes in wetland consulting, landfills. We've done a lot of technical review, ranging from nuclear sites to a lot of civil designs. And I was brought on board to look at this. And so we looked, and you have your magic camera here. So I've got a, how does that work? And is that working?
Yeah, it's working.
All right, okay, cool. Anyway, so just something routinely done with a wetland delineation is you look at what the DNR and there's a national wetland inventory, which is actually updated by the DNR here in 2013. They started that. So the existing conditions, this is a part, there's not indicated any wetlands on the site itself. There's a little pond over here. You can see that on the air photos. There's a lake, obviously. The lake's also part of the DNR public water inventories, which means you need special permit from the DNR if you impact that. So that was kind of the first thing to look at. This next item is, this is our site. This comes up on the soil survey, the soil rating, whether it's hydric or not hydric soil. And not hydric soil means there's almost never wetlands in it. 100% hydric soil is something like you'd have with a peat or muck, which is most certainly wetland soil. So this bluff area is called Lida 2 Inlets Complex. And this is the zone, a sensitive zone, where that's established because there's erosion problems there. And from the looks of the photos, they showed the riprap there, which helps the existing driveway, but this engineered design will make a lot less erosion, will cause a lot less erosion to occur. Where the proposed home is, it's interesting, it's called the Rush Lake Coarse Sand. I don't know if that's readable. Anyway, coarse sand, 1 to 4% slopes. And so the design, they cut across the bluff area. It's engineered controls, it's paved, and so you don't just have rocks, riprap, that runoff water can still go under and get out siltation. And then on either side, he has the 2 drains that drain nearly flat. And the fact that this is a coarse sand here, water soaks into coarse sand very quickly, so any sedimentation left from there would soak in there effectively, would function as a rain garden feature. And then also, since these swales on either side would be vegetated, the vegetation further captures siltation. Let's see, other notes on this. Yeah, not really readable. Anyway, I noticed that just the total earthwork compared to the previous plan, the second go-around, reduced it by 63%. That's cut and fill together. If you just consider the fill, the amount of fill's been reduced by 72%, more than 2/3. This site's been, go back to the engineer design, the site's been very well thought out. He has a SWIP, a stormwater pollution prevention plan to be built. The people who are building this house have experience in dealing with construction sites. Again, it's a well thought out plan. It will reduce siltation that's likely presently occurring in there. Let's just look at, where's that one with the, I don't know, is that upside down? Yeah, that's just, so this is good. They did what they could with the existing conditions there. But there's still sedimentation that can go wash into the lake. Everybody wants a nice lake, and the applicant realizes that. A year ago, we had a case west of Grand Forks near Devil's Lake, and somebody just decided to push a bunch of dirt from the hilltop where there were springs running out and fill in a bunch of cattails, and they tiled it and put sod there and put fertilizer on it, killed all the fish in the lake. There was a write-up in the paper, the Grand Forks Herald. Nobody could really do anything about it. Our client finally did get the project stopped. They were going to put cabins around there, but there's not even any cleanup in that site. And so what I see here with the Pomerleau's site is they're really trying to do things right, and they've tried 3 times here to do it, and it's a good plan, very well thought out. Guess all I have.
Okay.
Thank you.
Sandy, did you have something?
Yeah, do you have a picture of when we were talking about the driveway? The picture he just had up there? Do you have that any longer?
No.
Can you show me on the map that's up right now exactly where that picture is?
Jason, you should be able to see from the, way to zoom in on that, Barry?
No,
On the, where
You
the,
can zoom this map up any?
It'd be on the upper portion of the bluffs, right? Or
Right,
right
so
before
you're
the,
talking-
Isn't it right on the bluff somewhere?
I think probably right be,
but
right
where this driveway actually travels the whole way down right now?
I walked that driveway, I'm familiar with it.
Okay,
that driveway's right here,
but
isn't it?
I don't think we actually walked the driveway that they're showing. It's off to the other side.
Yeah, we did.
We walked down the center when we were on
walked
site
down
inspection.
this West side, I think.
Yep, we
And that,
walked
think
right
we
down
did
the
walk down
center
the
of it,
center.
unless you split off from the group. But we walked right down the center, and everybody stayed together in my recollection. And what they're showing here comes all the way over to the east side of the property
okay,
and comes around.
because that neighbor told me that day that part of this crossed it over to his land, and that's what I'm questioning.
Okay.
On that west side, there was a path that they used for four-wheelers and stuff. And he said that that was kind of like a shared road.
well, this was, I mean, I don't know if they have a clear understanding where the property line was or not. I'm not 100% certain of that, but I do know I walked this here. And if you look at the contours, where this new driveway is proposed is following this, right, Jason?
that's correct. There is a shared drive to access the cabins to the east, but that's further east. That's not on this property. Everything that we're proposing here stays 100% on the Pomerlos property.
Yeah, so you're proposing to come through here?
Yep,
Correct. And they may have used that for a four-wheeler trail, and they might think it's a shared four-wheeler trail, but it's not on their land.
I'm just-
I don't know.
That's what I was just trying to get clarification on, because I know what I was told that day when we were out there, and I just wanted to make sure I was looking at this right.
Just a comment, so the proposed house is on the west side of the Pomerlos? Does the plan show a house on, that's to the left or the west? But then these are existing homes, is what I understand. Correct. Sure, which are all closer to the lake than this proposed one. Okay.
So on this map, where's the driveway go? Like along,
Right up where his
right,
arrow was
we're
going.
showing there.
Isn't that
Okay.
really
And maybe you
steep
can
in
show
there?
where the original plan had it. That was the original plan.
Over the top of that original trail.
Yep.
Yeah.
I think both the first
And-
two did.
Then he kind of cuts diagonally through that bluff to, better do the engineering controls. Oh, there you go.
Mr. Chair, can you point out where that riprap is? Just give me some idea. I can't pick it up off the aerial.
You have to use the microphone. You'd have to go up front and state your name and use the mic.
I'm Sarah Pomerlo, and that photo, I took that photo, it's right at the top where, okay, so you have the bluff line at the very top, and there's this dip down in it that we had never gone over to the east side of the lot because it was all ticks and things, right? We just had always used that path that y'all saw when we were out there. And so when we had everything re-engineered, Mr. Versteg said, hey, I'm looking at the survey here, and it's like bluff, not bluff, bluff, not bluff. So it like has dipped down there, like somebody's taken out like for a road there. And so that's where we started exploring that. So it's at the very top where, if y'all remember, there was like level, then it went down a little bit, and then it kind of went down. It's in between, like, it's after that first level. So it's right in that kind of the worst maybe spot of where it's come around, and for maybe just for the purpose of the prior road, they put all that pebbling in, but we just had never gone over there or even explored it because we felt like the first time you would want us to use that four-wheeler path that we were going up and down. So
Can you try again with like reference to where I'm seeing the elevations on the aerial?
yeah, okay, so I can, okay.
See the cursor,
Okay,
tell me where to go.
The first dip? Sorry, I'm not super at,
Pretty close to where the cursor is there, right?
Yeah, it's really close to where the cursor is.
is it, I think it might be a little south. Oh, it's really hard for me to tell. Might be a little bit south of there. It was like steps, like it was like one, and then there was a step. It's right below that step there. And
Yeah,
so-
you're right on the cursor right there.
Right here?
Yeah,
In this
it might
area?
be a little bit west, but somewhere right in there.
Where is the catch basin?
Catch basin is at the south end of the curb and gutter. So if you look at, back to the drainage plan, on I'm gonna say the left side of the driveway, there is a curb and gutter that goes all the way from basically the bottom to the top. And that's that darker line. It's actually double line, but it looks
That one
darker.
right there?
Yes. Right at the bottom of that, right up a little bit. There we go. Or just a little bit further. There we go. There's a catch basin right there that catches the water and then discharges it into, discharges over a riprap bed to dissipate the energy, and then into this flat swale that goes down into the property, so.
And what type of landfill, when you said that it's sandy down there, what are you bringing in for that surface material that you're gonna use?
More than likely, we use, for sure, aggregate base, class 5, for the base material. And what we've specified on here is asphalt surface road. That could be concrete as well, but it will be hard surface.
But you're hauling in, what did I hear you say, 3,000 is it now?
No, there's
3,400
there's 3,400 total
cubic yards.
raw yards of cut and fill combined. Okay, but half of that is cut, half of it is fill, so the site, the earthwork on the site is gonna balance. All I said is that where it shows that being a little bit short, where it shows the fill being a little bit more than the cut, that's the surfacing materials that we're planning to bring on the site. The aggregate base and the surfacing materials.
And are you bringing those trucks in before or after you're paving this?
Well, before and during. So the trucks would be the surfacing material, the paving material, and the base material.
Can I clarify one thing? So in this calculation, if you take a yard from here and move it over here, that counts as 2, okay? Right, so if you understand. So what he's saying is, we don't have to bring in any material into this site unless it's surface material, right? Unless it's pavement or blacktop or the base. Okay,
Right,
so
I
he
understand
balanced that,
But
okay.
you're still moving it. Those trucks, you need trucks to move it. And there's a lot of, those trucks are heavy.
That's all on site.
Yeah, I know, it's all.
Why would he be moving it with?
Hi, guys.
You have to give your name.
Hi, guys. I'm Darren Flaggeri. I was brought in as an excavator, just to speak about constructability. And so I guess I'll start with, moving that dirt wouldn't go on a truck and it wouldn't touch a public road because it's already on site. It would simply be shifted around to create the roadbed going around the corner and down there.
Basically gonna move it with the bucket versus
Yes.
loading a truck.
Yeah, there wouldn't be going on any trucks because it's nearby. It doesn't.
Okay, that's why I
feasibly-
didn't know the
Yeah.
distance. That's what I was trying to figure out, how many trucks were gonna be moving around in there, if any.
Yeah, no, it wouldn't be trucks. It's all really kind of, it's hard because you're not looking at the same thing we are, but you can see in the driveway area there where the lines start, go further, where the lines start going the other way, that's the cut area. That's where you're going down. So it's just taking that stuff and then going down and around to where the lines start, kind of going the other way, so to speak. So it's all relatively in a compact area that's just getting shifted around to make that work. The other thing I wanted to touch on quick is just that the driveway and the hard surface, the intent of it being hard surface is that driveway is going to have a pitch towards the bluff, towards the curb and gutter. So everything, even from through that cut area, is going to come down the driveway and be forced over to the gutter and run around. So it's not gonna run down the hill at the neighboring place on the east, because I know there was some concern about over there, and they expressed it at the last meeting. They had some concern because their septic is down there, and in this scenario, water really doesn't come to them because it's all being shifted into the driveway and brought more center of the Pomeroy's lot, and then dealt with through the riprap in the runways on the sides, so to speak. So their impact is very minimal, if at all.
They're asking, where's the septic?
They tell me that the neighboring septic is what I was referring to, is kind of behind their shed towards our area. That's what
But where's theirs gonna be?
theirs is gonna be on the top of the hill.
On top, okay.
Yep.
We do have the design for that, I just didn't include the slide.
Oh, okay.
So that's really all I have off the top of my head, if there's any questions, I guess, is what the process would be or what guardrails there would be, I can answer those.
Janice, you have a question for him?
Yes, I guess I'm a little confused about, I recognize the fellow from Dunnock's. Who are you with?
I am with Flaggeri Excavating. I'm a local excavator, will be the contractor involved in doing it, so.
Okay.
I'm where the buck stops, I guess, if the dirt is being moved.
Okay, and you're local here?
Yes.
To the
To
neighborhood?
Annandale, yes.
Annandale. And you, Mr. Miller, I don't know how you fit into this plan.
Yeah, I just help with planning, and we do, Dan knows me quite a bit for
Well, I don't.
different variances. We do a lot of septic designs and planning for new houses, help a lot of people on the lakes.
And you have an office in Annandale?
I'm in Kimball.
In Kimball, okay. All right. And you, sir, in the back, you're with the,
Yeah, my company's Earth Science Associates, and we go around the state.
and you, where are you housed or located?
Office is in North Branch.
North Branch, okay, thank
Seems
you.
like we do more and more work in the Buffalo area lately.
Okay.
But, yeah.
Okay. And there's more fellows here that are going to speak or want to speak too. Where are you from?
You know me, Jan.
Oh, okay.
I'm your neighbor.
Yes.
Hi, I'm Darwin Hoffman, Hoffman Construction. I've brought all these people together. Pomelou's asked me to get involved with this. I've done many houses on Sylvia, probably in the range of nearly 40 new houses on Sylvia in my career, and many, many more remodels and additions that we've always taken care of the lake. Darren and his dad has been my excavator for years, and we take care of the lake. We use silt fence. We use we'll put down mats as soon as we can on high grades. We do take care of the lake. We watch. We don't want that fill, that runoff to be running into the lake. Bernie's been doing my site plans and septics for nearly 20 years, working with Darren and his dad for nearly 20 years. So we have a handle on this, we feel. We're not going to get water running into the neighbor's place. We're controlling it, keeping it on the Pomelou's property. And with engineering, we have a way to control that water and let it dissipate into the soil there. So we're looking at it as this is a huge project, but like we say, we're just moving soil from one side to the other. So we're all local people and been working on the lake for years and years. So that's it.
Jim, can why do you call it a huge project?
Pardon me?
You just described the project as a huge project, and there's been a lot of guys involved.
Mm-hmm.
But the excavator just talked about it being a fairly compact area. Jason talked about the balance on site. When I do the math, if the trucks that are going to be bringing in the extra material are 13, 14-yard trucks, we're talking about a total of 20 trucks.
Mm-hmm.
But you just said this is a huge project. You're a local guy, you use common sense words, so help me understand why you're calling it a huge project.
I'm sorry, I didn't know I said huge project.
You did. I'm just
Okay,
trying.
I'm
just
sorry.
trying to.
I didn't mean a huge project.
When we start talking about doing a huge project in a bluff, after I've just heard the other guys talk about numbers that weren't feeling that way.
Okay,
I just want to make sure.
I'm sorry, I didn't.
No, you don't have to apologize.
No.
I just wanted to understand what you meant by it.
I didn't mean huge, I guess. I'm sorry.
Okay.
No, maybe I said it's not a huge project. I apologize if I was incorrect.
No apologies necessary. There's a lot of people, a lot of moving parts, a lot of people putting stuff on paper, but not all that much cut and fill anymore.
Correct.
Okay. Anything else you want to add to this point, or otherwise we will go to the public? You want to? Okay. If you're good for right now, is there anyone from the public that would like to comment on this? And again, I would ask that you try to keep your comments to 4 minutes, please. Please give your name for the record and sign the sheet there for us, please.
My name is Douglas Greven, and I've been a resident on the lake for about 26 years. I've been actually coming up here for many more years than that. But we always enjoy Lake Sylvia, and it's a beautiful lake. I'm a member of the Greater Lake Sylvia Association, of course, and the Lake Sylvia Peninsula Association, which keeps up the road that goes in there. And I am here to support the Pomerleaus and recommend that you approve the conditional use permit for the property. They have done a lot of work over the time trying to meet all the requirements. And they did meet the DNR. They've met with the DNR. The DNR has no issues with the property. And, that's not easy to get. The DNR is a tough organization. If they think there's something that is wrong, they're not bashful about saying that. And they went to Soil and Water District to make sure there wasn't anything there, and they had no issues with it. And then, of course, you heard about their meeting not only the 75-foot, but they're back 102 feet. In fact, my place is back over 100 feet. And that's still a beautiful view of the lake. So we get that. With all that and all that they've done, reducing the amount of dirt and protecting, last time I was here, there was a gentleman here, a neighbor, that was concerned about the flow of water coming, and it currently comes along and it kind of went to his land. This corrects all that. If he builds down below, it stops that flow that he was talking about. And so it seems to be an excellent plan. So based on everything that they have done, I recommend that you approve the conditional use permit for Sarah and Josh Pomerleau. Thank you.
Right, thank you.
Can I ask him a question?
Yep, sir.
Sir, did you say you're a member of the Greater Lake Sylvia Association?
Yes, I am.
And you're speaking for yourself and not the association?
Oh, yes, I'm speaking for myself.
Okay, because I read in here that the association was against it. So I just
Yeah,
wanted to
well, there are a
clarify.
lot of members of the association. You may have some letters from them. They're all members, in fact, active members of the association that are not, that would very much support the Pomerleaus in this.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Gentleman there.
My name is Steve Burns. We actually did the original tear down on the retreat. My company did. We built the road going in there. We're very, very well acquainted with this site. What they're doing, where that new driveway proposed is, I've been up and down there many times. There was a few small buildings and stuff at the bottom of that we used. We went up and down there a few times. This isn't a bad plan at all. We do a lot of work on Lake Minnetonka. We do stuff on Lake Minnetonka that's a lot closer to the lake than this project is. I don't see any issues with this at all. So.
Thank you. Is there anyone else from the public that would like to comment? Gentleman there in the back.
My name's Eric Lawson. My wife and I are property owners on a lake. We've lived on a lake full-time for the last 4 years. As Mr. Grevin said, I think the owners have done a tremendous job getting this project to the point where, they've cut it in half as far as the impact and cut it in half again. It's a lot of work, a lot of effort on that. My perspective is it's a perfect place to build a house. Lake Sylvia is a beautiful lake, and it's got lots of homes and cabins around it. One of the things that make Lake Sylvia a really beautiful place are the homes around the lake. Every day in the summer, and especially on Saturday and Sundays, there's a continual parade of pontoon boats going around the circumference of the lake. And they're looking at the homes. And those homes are really what makes Lake Sylvia, I think, the gem of the lakes area here. And I'm very supportive of this, and I think you should approve it. Thank you.
Right, thank you. Anyone else that would like to comment? Gentleman in the back?
Carl Nordberg. I'm a fourth generation Nordberg, and this property was originally Nordberg farmland. I currently have property just to the west of this lot. I have extensive knowledge of this area. I was with you on the site inspection, and I was told that I could answer questions about the area, and no one did. It doesn't matter to me where they build their house, there's going to be an impact on the bluff. If they build on top of the bluff, they're still going to be going to the lake, which would still cause possible erosion problems. So I think it's your responsibility to determine what is going to be the lesser of two evils, whether it's on top where the more or less uncontrolled access to the lake, or down below where these plans are. That steep hill that we walked up and down that day, that was a haul road where they brought down material to build a dike to enclose that area down below. The frost heave, that's part of the berm or the dike. And then on the west side, there's a blacktop existing road. That was the top of the berm. That was I was like 8 or 9 years old when this was done. But being that old, it was fascinating to see all the trucks coming up and down that hill. And they were hauling in to build this dike area for Hennepin Avenue Church, dredged the lake in front of lots what are now 5 and 6. And they put all of the dredge material down below where this house is proposing to be built. And that had the consistency of pudding for 5 or 6 years. And then when it did firm up some, they hauled in pit run just so that you could get a lawnmower on it to cut it. Since then, it's firmed up. And like I said, I don't care. I'm not an engineer. I mean, they can stabilize it however it is. I just want to be people aware that that's why that's so level. All of the sediment from the lake was pumped in there to smooth it out. So I just want people to be aware that, what could possibly be involved when they start moving things down there. Like I said, whether it's a no-win situation for the bluff. If the house is on top, there's still going to be traffic because you want to go to the lake. That's understandable. So it's a lesser of two evils now at this point. So that's all I have.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair, I have a question from Mr. Norberg. At the top of the bluff there, this cartway that's in there, you know that flatter area before you get to the very top?
Yeah.
Where it flattens out? What was that? It looks like it had been there a long time.
It's been there as long as I was, and I think it was flattened out a little more because there was one of the dormitories was to the east of that area. So I think they flattened that area out for that dormitory building and just flattened it out. But there's a natural bump there. It's even visible on my property to the west of there. So
It looked man-made.
I'm sure some of it was when
Okay.
when the excavation took place for that building. And that the riprap area that
Yep.
they found when they're, the existing lot to the east, my uncle first built that property there, and that was the only way you could get to that property. 77th Street wasn't there yet. So that, they came in through the field, down that, I imagine that's just where they put all of this, the field stone in that gully. I mean, that's why it's all there, is that, that was his driveway to get to his home. That would have been like in the 51 or 52, when he built there, so.
Thank you.
Okay.
All right, thank you. Is there anyone else that would like to comment? There?
Hi there. My name is Rebecca Bach, and my husband and I own some land on Lake Sylvia. My husband actually bought his first cabin on Lake Sylvia in 2001 and had been part of the Greater Lake Sylvia Association on and off since. I'm honored to be here because it means I am fortunate enough to have a place on Lake Sylvia, and it's a spectacular lake, as all of you know. And I understand that any kind of building makes an impact. And I know also that the Koinonia Retreat Center was a beloved open space where I think a lot of people, not even on the lake, you would use it. And it was beautiful. And I think all of us would agree that if it could have been left open to the public as it was, that would have been awesome. But unfortunately, someone had to buy it. They were selling it. And so someone had to buy it, and it was developed. But fortunately, it was only developed into 6 lots, which means I think the lots are between 5 and 7 acres each. And when you look at the lots on the whole lake, East and West Sylvia, you'd be hard pressed to find many lots that are over 5 acres. So I think in terms of impact, we're pretty lucky that it's only 6 lots, and I think it's only 5 houses maybe. But anyway, I don't know all of that. What I do know is that Sarah and Josh went through extreme measures to proactively preserve what they also love as Lake Sylvia. They employed the DNR, Water and Soil, and actually the Indian Affairs Council too, to make sure that they weren't disrupting any potential burial sites, which would have already been disrupted by farming over the years. And I think also that they may have employed a geologist to make sure that their impact in building is minimal. I've heard tonight that they've made significant concessions in downsizing their plan to lower the impact to the lake and to the neighbors, which I think is important too. And the people, when out boating and floating around the last few years on Lake Sylvia, people are excited to see what's going to happen with the Koinonia Retreat Center, and they're wondering why houses aren't built yet. And they're excited to see. I think what this gentleman said is that part of the spectacle of the lake is boating around and seeing houses and seeing what's going up and what's being built. And people are excited for it. And so I think that I understand that there is opposition to any building on that Koinonia site, but in my experience, my personal experience, the vast majority is excited to see what comes next and to see what houses are built on the lake, not on the bluff, but on the lake. And I also understand that there's a lot of considerations that need to be taken into place to preserve the bluff and to preserve the lake. And it sounds to me, by all of these experts that have come in, that that's been being done, that they've made they've taken all of the steps to preserve as much as they possibly can. And I think that's amazing. Their proposal will add to the aesthetic of the lake. It adds to the tax base. It just adds to the overall charm of this lake, and I think that's pretty awesome. So I think, as someone who doesn't like to speak in front of people, that's all I have to say. I think that maybe I might be one of the silent majority on this lake that says, please let them build, let them, and especially what they've done to mitigate the impact. I think it should be a yes tonight. And that's all I have. Thanks.
Thank you. You must have rehearsed that. You did it right at 4 minutes.
I did?
Yeah.
I didn't. Okay, yes, I did. I practiced really hard. Thank you so
All right,
much
thank
for
you.
your time. I appreciate it.
Is there anyone else that would like to speak on this matter? Gentleman there?
Good evening, Mr. Chair, members of the commission. My name is Tim Keen, and I am here on behalf of the Greater Lake Sylvia Association. I think this is my 4th appearance on this matter. Been going at it for 16 or 17 months now. And we started out with, I guess, could be described as a really, really bad plan. And that emerged into the second application, which was only a really bad plan. And now we are on the next iteration. And the premise of the Lake Association's concerns are still all the same. Even though the grading and the, I would call the gash to the bluff has been reduced, we should really circle back to the comprehensive plan. And that's an important starting point for any land use application, is what does a comprehensive plan, policies, and guiding provide. And the Northwest Quadrant Plan for Wright County provides goals and policies and land use designations. And major goal number 4 is to protect, preserve, and enhance the quality of the natural environment and require development to take place in a manner that makes wise use of Wright County's resources without degradation. Policy statement goes on to provide that steep slopes, wetlands, unstable soils, and other sensitive natural features will be protected as far as practical in their natural, stable state. Development on or near such areas may be required larger lot sizes, enhanced setbacks, or other conditions. The development of lakeshore property shall abide by shoreline management regulations, and a natural shoreline and natural views of shoreline areas from the lake shall be promoted. The final policy statement under goal number 4 is development activity should take place in harmony with the existing stable natural environment. Development proposals should be adapted to suit the natural landscape rather than altering the land to suit the development. And finally, the Northwest Quadrant Plan specifically addresses steep slope protection policies. Areas designated as steep slopes, as this entire bluff indisputably is, are environmentally sensitive, and development proposals should be altered or denied if they conflict with the county's goals for protecting these features. So the county's ordinance provides that a substantial alteration requiring a conditional use permit is one consisting in excess of 50 cubic yards of material. The original plan was to excavate 17,000 cubic yards of material, 300 times the definition of a substantial alteration. Now we're down to about 3,500 cubic yards, which is only 70 times the county's definition of a substantial alteration. So we're making a substantial alteration in a protected bluff area of steep slopes.
You're at your 4 minutes, but I'm going to allow you to go on, being you're representing the Lake Association.
Thank you, I will
So-
wrap it up.
But, I mean, I'll allow you to go on a little bit, because I know you are
No.
representing the Lake Sylvia Association.
Well, thank you for that. I've said just about everything that needs to be said in previous communications and correspondence. I guess the applicant should be commended for coming in with a third plan that is not as adverse and impactful as the original plan. That nice flat open space, that the buildable area that they had pictures of, that was all covered with vegetation when this discussion started. And so a lot of alteration has already taken place on the site. Materials moved, trees removed. So the Lake Association respectfully requests that you go back to the foundation, your comprehensive plan, measure this third application against the policies, goals, and statements in your comprehensive plan. And we respectfully request that you regard the spirit letter of intent, and intent of the conditional use permit that was originally approved, stipulating that development should be above the bluff. So, thank you for your consideration.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
A couple follow-ups for you, Mr. Keen. Your letter that was submitted today says there's been significant tree removal and mass grading.
Mm-hmm.
Can you quantify some of that for me? What are you talking about in terms of the quantity of trees removed, the species? They're fairly, I read those and I see a problem with what's happening, but I also just have your words on it. And so if you can tell me what you mean when you say substantial.
Well, don't take my word for it. Look at the county's own aerial photographs. And that's what I rely on. The before photographs show this area covered with dense vegetation.
Well, you submitted photos with your letter.
That is correct. There were
so I'm
drone, nothing that encroached upon the property. These were drone photographs that were taken from the lakeside, correct.
Okay, and so how many cubic yards have already been moved? You say mass grading.
I couldn't tell you that. I would, based on a visual, it would appear in excess of the county's definition of alteration, but I do not have a precise measurement on materials that have been moved.
And those materials, and I'm looking at the pictures you have with your letter. Your position is that those materials were moved in the bluff, at the bottom of the bluff?
Along the ravine and the existing area. And the tree removal took place over a substantial period of time, and there were large truckloads of trees removed from the site.
Big old trees, buckthorn undergrowth. I'm trying to understand it, because it's fairly weighty, what you're saying in your letter as I read it. I just want to understand. You're saying there's lots of trees. I look at a picture, I still see lots of big old trees. Were large trees taken out of the bluff?
Well, perhaps that question is best directed to the property owner and applicant.
I'm going to, but this is my chance to ask you. You wrote the letter that said...
I did, and I relied on aerial and lakeshore photographs showing the before and the after. That is correct. Again, I was not out there with a caliper measuring the diameter of the trees that were removed. But I know from firsthand accounts, there were truckloads and truckloads of trees removed.
Okay. I guess going back to your letter from February, and and the updated letters, as I understand your position, it is largely, go see what I said at the beginning of this. The comprehensive plan, the Northwest Quadrant Land Use Plan, talks about the steep slopes and the bluffs in these ways, and the last couple of plans didn't comply with it. You're here tonight saying this one doesn't do it either. From the Lake Association's perspective, is there any plan ever that could be presented that would be acceptable, or is it the Lake Association's perspective that any plan that puts a house at the bottom of the bluff is unacceptable?
It's the Lake Association's contention that the Planning Commission got it right the first time when they approved Hannah's Landing and required building to take place above the bluff.
Yeah, but you've been at this long enough, right, to understand that people get to come in and ask for permissions. Is there any scenario, and maybe you don't have the answer to it, is there any scenario in which any ingress-egress road can go through the bluff that Mr. Versteeg could design better, that any of the experts could do something more with, in the Lake Association's view, that may be acceptable? Or is this just forever chasing it, and they're never going to make the Lake Association, with its at least current leadership, happy?
The benchmarks that we're looking at are the comprehensive plan to preserve and protect steep slopes, the bluff, and then the county's definition of substantial alteration. And this is still 70 times the county's own definition of substantial alteration of moving earth material.
On that math, and I just want to track the math because I'm not good at it. Maybe you're the lawyer that's an exception and you're really good at math. When you say it's 70 times, that's the 50 cubic yards, and you're talking about the total movement of 3,500 cubic yards. I don't have that little chart in front of me anymore.
Yeah, that's
But at the end of the
roughly
day,
the number.
yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, what we're talking about is, does the Lake Association care that this idea of balance, that we're going to borrow from a portion of the site and bring it down into the bluff to build it up? Does that balance matter? It seems to me to beat bringing in these scores or more of trucks. That was the original plan.
Mm-hmm.
We're down to 20 trucks.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
That seems pretty good. It seems like they're trying to adapt their plan to be consistent with the natural environment. And we can have a reading of that major policy goal and the points that you made about trying to adapt development to what's there and not vice versa. And it seems like they're doing that. Is there anything more that the Lake Association wants to see this applicant do? Any more experts they could hire to do something with?
Well, I'll just touch back to kind of the two cornerstones of my argument, the Lake Association's argument, that you have these policies that are well articulated, multiple policies in the Northwest Quadrant Plan, and you have a code definition of what's a substantial alteration. And this is many, many times the county's definition of a substantial alteration. I'm not here to design or advocate yet another alternative plan beyond the point that the Lake Association believes the county got it right, the Planning Commission got it right, when they recognize that protecting the bluff is important and that all building within Hannah's Landing on these lots, these eastern lots, should abide by protecting the bluff and building above it. So,
You may not know the answer to this. With respect to the rest of Sylvia, and Barry, maybe you know the answer to this. I look at the aerial views of Sylvia. I'm probably not fortunate enough to go out boating every Saturday and Sunday afternoon on Lake Sylvia, but there's lots of houses out there that have been built, I'm assuming, in bluffs, on tops of bluffs, below bluffs. How is this different than the development that's taken place over the years, other than this applicant's had to engineer it a whole heck of a lot more, rightfully so?
you have a comprehensive plan that was adopted that aspired to adopt these goals and policies to protect the remaining natural features in the area. That's probably the biggest difference.
Yeah, probably put the brakes on that sort of unfettered development from back in the day.
Let's take care of what we have left.
Yeah.
Yes.
Thank you.
Questions? Thank you.
Great, thank you. Is there anyone else? Yes, if you can make it brief.
I'll make it very brief. One, I was on the school board for 8 years. You guys should be commended. Steve Burns from Watertown. You guys need to be commended. It's 20 after 9 and you're still here. I was on a school board in Watertown for 8 years, so I know what you're going through. Number two, if you drive around the lake, everybody's on the lake. And number three, they are protecting the bluff. They're spending all this money on engineers, designers, getting the yardage down as low as they can, protecting the bluff, protecting the lake. So what the gentleman just said, that's what they are doing. So when you talk about your comprehensive plan, says you need to protect the bluff, protect the lake, engineering and doing this type of project is exactly what your comprehensive plan says. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Is there any, please make it brief. You've already spoke, but please make it brief.
Thank you. Just very brief.
Give your name, please.
Eric Lawson. As you've heard, the Lake Association is fond of saying they represent everyone on Lake Sylvia. And as you've heard from others here tonight, they don't. Thank you.
Right. Is there anyone else from the public that would like to comment? If not, the applicant wants to come back up and have any rebuttals, anything you've heard?
Yeah, I just wanted to add a few things. One thing is, part of this, we start looking at, kind of what you can do. I know you have your comprehensive plan. I looked into look at the ordinance 155-101 under number 3, A3. The extraction, grading, filling of land involving the movement of earth materials in excess of 10 cubic yards within shore, bluff, impact zones, or steep shoreland areas shall require an administrative permit, but not a conditional use permit. Okay, so to me, if they weren't, and I think it gets brought into needing a conditional use permit because when this was approved in the plat, they said if they want to build down below, they left it open, said you can come down below, but you're going to come back to amend the conditional use permit and an alteration permit. What I'm saying is, from what this ordinance says, if they built their house up top, they could, and if they want to put something down there, I don't know, or anywhere in any other bluff, maybe Barry can explain this, but it says you don't need a conditional use permit. You need it's an administrative permit. And so, that got added onto this. So normally, and that's different than the whole quadrant comprehensive plan or whatever, but that's what's in the ordinance, what you read when you look at bluffs, and it clearly states that in excess of 10 yards. Under 10, you don't need a permit. You go over that, you don't need a conditional use permit. you need a permit, an administrative permit. And so, they do, depending on what happens here. And I looked at this and it's like, all right, so what happens if this doesn't get approved, right? So they are allowed to put a 400 square foot boathouse down there, and they are allowed to put a guest house down there, and they can have a 750 square foot guest house attached to a total of 4,000 square foot of accessory structures that are down there that don't require to have a driveway. So they could still put 4,000 square foot of building at the bottom of this hill without a conditional use permit. And so, the point being that the lesser of two evils, being able to control the access. People are going to come down here either way. There's going to be, whether it's UTVs going down the trail or doing something, if they build up top, they're still going to be coming down there. They can still build a shed down there. They can still build a boathouse down there. They can still spend a lot of time down there, and they're going to go up and down. This way controls that. It can control a road, have a road down there, control the erosion, and have it be done, and people won't be going up and down. They'll be down there, so.
Just for a bit of a clarification there too, Mr. Miller, you are correct. In those impact zones, anything over 10 requires, it's just an administrative permit. But in section 2, substantial alteration in a shoreline zone, which is within 1,000 feet, anything more than 50 requires it. So yes, from 10 to 50, it's administrative. Anything over 50, conditional use permit. So this would be required in this one, even if that wasn't specifically stated in the document for the development itself.
It's a little misleading because it just says excessive. In excess of 10 cubic yards.
It explains it. Substantial alteration shall be defined as the extraction, grading, or filling of land involving movement of earth and materials in excess of 50 cubic yards in the shoreline district, which is within 1,000 feet of the lake.
Yes.
So it specifically defines it, that if it's over 50, then such alteration shall require a conditional use permit. So it would require a conditional use permit whether or not the conditions of the plat said it needed one.
Okay. That's all, thanks.
Thanks. Go ahead.
Yeah, just add, just one more thing to, kind of in response to the gentleman from the Greater Lake Sylvia Association. And he had talked about the plan, the comprehensive plan, and specifically language that said areas designated as steep slopes are environmentally sensitive, and development proposals may be altered or denied if they conflict with the county's goals for protecting these features as far as practical in the natural stable state. I guess I would contend to you that it has been denied twice, but now it's been altered. And so I think what we're doing here still complies with that goal, and with that, ultimately with the finding that you'll come up with for support of this permit. So.
Mr. Chair, I'd like
Janice?
to ask the fellow from Dennex a question.
Yeah, go ahead.
I'd like to ask you a question, sir.
Sure.
When you are proposing this road that would come down on that track that you said exists there a little to the east of where the original tree removal, et cetera, was taking place, is this plan paved all the way down to the front of the house then? And is this little circle here the holding space, the pond, the catch basin for all the runoff that comes down from your driveway on down to the front of the back of the house, the non-lakeside side of the house? There's a little circle, oval circle there. Is that where you're hoping to catch all the runoff that comes down the hill, except for what goes over to the two sides into those tubes?
Yeah, thank you for the question. And the answer to your first question is yes, the pavement will come all the way down to the house. The answer to your second question is no, that's an island in the middle there. The water will be directed north and west of the driveway into that low area that's between the driveway and the bluff.
North and west?
Yep, in that area there. There's a swale that we've got placed in that area where the water from basically the west side of the driveway will be directed into there. And then there's another swale on the east side of the house that we've got designed. So basically, the east side of the driveway will be directed, the runoff will be directed to the east swale. The west side of the driveway, the runoff will be directed to the west swale.
And so that you're going to excavate a swale then on the east side of the property, running the length of the lake shore?
Yes.
Or the property line, or that's the proposal. Is all of this above ground delivery then to the lake, or are you just planting vegetation? Is that
Planting
proposed?
vegetation, yes.
And what kind of vegetation would that be?
I don't remember if we actually specified vegetation we may have on that, so I don't want to misspeak, but I would have to check back on the plans. But it'd be a wet type of species vegetation that's specific for infiltration basins. I believe the number is 33 I don't remember right offhand, but it would be a species that is able to handle a wet type of situation,
Okay.
like you would have in a soil.
Also, when there's so much pavement or asphalt that's covering an area, I know around the place, the lake that we have a cabin on, my husband and I, that they frown on doing paved surfaces, driveways, et cetera, because it takes away the natural absorption of the rain that falls. And so when I look at this plan, I see a lot of engineering that's gone into this, but I also see that there's a lot that is being covered up and just destroyed. It's taken away the natural features of the property. One of the things that with the conditional use permit, that is of interest to me is to preserve the property as it was exposed to our development. And in the course of the Bible camp being there, most of the buildings were hidden and concealed from the lake view. And where I can see people driving around and liking to look at lake cabins, but I think a lot of people like to drive around on their boats and just look at the natural environment too. So with that in mind, I just have some concerns and questions that perhaps it's time for the council or the planning commission to talk among themselves about this. But you've answered my questions, my general questions about the pavement and how much would be paved and how the water would be brought forward. The other question that I have was, this is a very large house, and that is also going to eat up a lot of the ability of the area that's exposed now and has been forever, to having another challenge to rid the property of the water that will run off the roof of the house, and how that's going to be handled in getting down to the water. So those are the kinds of questions that I have. And I don't know that you're the person to just to do this, or that I'm the person should be asking the question, but it is questions that I have. Thank you.
Would you like me to respond
You
to,
can
I guess,
respond or the other-
one of those questions? Yeah, in the stormwater pollution prevention plan, we do call out the amount of impervious surface that's going to be added based on this, and it reads as 0.7 acres. Okay, so I would say there's a balance to be struck when you're doing these type of things, right? One is you don't want to have too much impervious surface that you know cause runoff to happen, right? And in a large part, that has probably a lot more to do with density. And we've already heard testimony here today that, you know, there's this development in general has very large lots. And so it can take a little bit more impervious surface. They need to have more impervious surface because you have a long distance from the public road down to where your improvements are going to be. But the balance to be struck then is those hard surfaces actually in a situation like this actually become best management practices to carry that runoff without eroding the bank. And so we're directing it down a hard surface into a curb and gutter, into a storm sewer system, and then discharging it over a rip-wrapped swale and then into a vegetated swale so that the issues that you would normally be concerned about when you're talking about impervious surfaces and that type of thing are mitigated through those hard surfaces and those controls. So
I'd like to have a follow-up comment. This looks, in terms of feet, how long is this curved paved road to reach from the top down to the bottom? How many feet is your driveway there? Would you guess?
From the road, from the public road?
No, not from the public road, from up above, where you see where the culverts are coming in, and the curve is there with the dark line on the north side of the paved road. The curb and gutter.
Right there. Lineal feet to the curb and gutter.
What?
Lineal feet to the curb and gutter is what you're looking for.
Lineal feet.
Yeah, I am sorry, I do not have that right
Okay.
offhand.
Well, it looks.
I can't read my plan, so.
Yeah, it does look like it's quite a ways. Once this is installed and there, it would be up to the owner then to maintain that on a continuous basis.
Sure.
And I have no idea what's involved in that type of maintenance, but it's something that most homeowners I'm comfortable of assuming. I know you're in the road business and you know how to do that, but as time.
Well, it's really set up so that there's going to be very little maintenance needed. You know, we're hard surfacing, so, you know, where you'd normally have, maybe you'd have a gravel road or a dirt road coming down, that would require a lot of maintenance because you would have sediment that would be continually washed down that road. In this case, we're paving that with a hard surface, putting it in a curb and gutter, putting it into the catch basin. So it's really a system that's set up to be almost maintenance-free, aside from just mowing the grass. And we've set up the slopes so that the grass can be mowed in an acceptable manner too, in a safe manner, so.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Dan, I have a quick question for him.
Can I go to Ken first here? Go ahead, Ken.
Mr. Dunick, right?
Verstig, yes.
never mind.
I'm with Dunick, but yes.
Okay, sorry.
Yes, thank you.
You look familiar. Were you here?
I
with the
have
gravel
been here a
pit?
number of times, yes,
Okay,
on
sure.
different issues, but.
Yeah, good to see you again.
Yeah, thank you.
In any event, your cut and fill yardage for the driveway, is that only for the driveway or is it for,
Well, that's for,
or let's say,
from where you see, from everything that's being graded under this plan. So
Okay.
from where you see the start of the grading from the north end there down to the lake, essentially, so.
okay, and
Or down to the ice dam.
it has nothing to do with the pad for the home.
And it includes including the pad for the home. So any grading that's done on site under this plan, so
Okay,
including the house plan.
That clarifies that
Yep.
question. Now, you spoke of a catch basin at the end of that curb and gutter.
Yes.
There's just one, and is that connected with an underground pipe to direct it toward those gardens?
That is correct. Yep.
Piping underneath.
Yep. Just a short pipe to get it into that shallow swale, and
One pipe to go to the west, and one pipe to go to the south underneath the driveway toward that?
not one underneath this. There'll be a cross slope on the driveway that directs all runoff from the driveway towards the curb and gutter. So all runoff will get into the curb and gutter, and then it will go into that catch basin.
I
So-
got that part, okay.
So
But
that we're
once
not-
it gets into the catch basin.
Yep.
You got underground piping.
Yep.
A short distance to the swale on the west?
Yep.
And now how do you get underneath the driveway with that water?
You don't. It just continues around the north and west sides of the driveway.
Okay, so none of that runoff from the driveway goes to the east?
No.
The absorption garden there?
Yep,
Okay.
that's correct.
That clarifies that.
Everything from the driveway coming down the hill,
Okay.
and basically the west side of the driveway and the bottom all goes to that swale in the west.
Right.
The only stuff that goes to the east would be kind of the east half of that driveway, east of that island. That'll be directed to the east.
Right.
So there's just this small area there.
My next question may not be germane to the subject here tonight. However, have there been soil borings performed for the area where the house is?
Mike.
You gotta come to the mic. You have to come up.
Yes, we had 4 soil borings done before we purchased the lot, just to be certain that it was buildable.
Do they indicate any soil corrections required?
No, because I didn't want to buy it and then need pilings or something, or, we needed to know if we could build. So no, there was no correction or anything.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
And thank you, sir.
I have a question for,
Janet, just, can we wait? There's other ones that want to go.
no, I was just going to catch her.
Go ahead, Pat.
Two hopefully discrete areas. First, Mr. Versteeg, are you the guy to talk about the grading and tree removal that's taken place on the site so far?
I know of just, maybe Sarah could speak to that.
So I knew that would be a sensitive issue when we bought the lot. And so I spoke with Barry, maybe 5 times about the tree rules so that we weren't, and I had it staked by 2 different surveyors so that we knew how far back from the lake shore we could go to remove a tree. And then we had the lot staked along the neighbors. And so we took out just trees that we were able to with our own, property rights or whatever the rules were. Right, Barry? Yeah.
Yes.
Remind me when you bought this place?
We bought it contract for deed first, so that was about 2 years ago, maybe? I don't know. It was maybe 2 years ago, and the contract for deed closed out a few months ago, I think.
I'm just trying to relate what you're saying with the aerials that
Yeah.
are there.
So you could probably see that difference there. But I knew that would be something that would be of concern, so I tried to look into that.
Trucks and trucks and trucks worth of trees removed?
There were, when you guys were, I guess, there was a volleyball, the campground had a volleyball court in there and then a playground. And there was some trees to the east, towards the east side that were there that we had removed. We wanted to camp there, and my kids play baseball and football and all that out there. And so I just found out what I could do with that. And then we asked our neighbor if we checked with the neighbor you're okay with this, you know? And then they didn't have to take out many, I don't think, because they chipped them, or, you know, like make them smaller so that they didn't have to haul, I think.
Okay, how about the grading?
No grading has done, with the exception of at the top from the road to, so I had the lot staked twice to find the bluff impact zone and the actual bluff line. And you're not allowed to go up, you know, into that bluff impact zone even. And so, Mr. Burns here did a driveway from the cul-de-sac up until quite a bit before the bluff impact zone. Just so we have, you know, we don't have a toilet, so we have what's that called? Like a porta potty up top. And so we have to, somewhere to put that, I guess, like on that road up there. So that would be like, I guess, he made a driveway, and he did that through the township with a permit.
Okay. That was it, thank you.
You're welcome.
I had the other one for Mr. Versteeg here. I'm glad it was denied last time, frankly. I voted to approve it last time, and this plan's a lot better. And it's got me thinking again. What would you do better with a fourth iteration?
Yeah, I don't know that we could get it much better, to be honest. Part of what we need to do is still maintain drivability down to where the house is. And so that I like to try to keep under 15%. Right now, the bluff as it sits is about 45%. And so the last iteration of this thing did have a 15% slope on the driveway, but they had it coming straight down the center, and they have very tall retaining walls on either side. So it's just a big thing that just stuck out of the middle that went straight down, essentially. And so my thoughts on this was to try to find basically the longest path so that we could minimize the fill, essentially, and essentially hug the bluff as it's coming down as much as we can. So if I had to reduce fill at this point, I would probably have to make the slope steeper, which would, in my mind, cause, safety, accessibility issues and that type of thing. If you're getting close to 20%, I've seen it, but it's not very fun, especially if you have any sort of, ice or anything like that.
You're a civil engineer, your company works on roads.
Yeah.
This idea of 15% in your expert opinion is about the maximum safe slope for travel through here.
For a driveway, yes.
Okay. To the commissioner's question about the maintenance of this, the retaining wall issue, I'm glad that you raised that, because that was one of the concerns from the last go-round too, was somebody's gonna put up the walls now and they're gonna be chasing those walls, or maybe they don't. And that causes problems. When you talk about this, you've designed this one to be relatively maintenance-free.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know the answer to this, maybe I should. What's the life expectancy of a curb and gutter, a privately installed curb and gutter system that's not kept up by government funds?
Really, they can last for almost forever, to be honest. I mean,
with appropriate maintenance and care,
Right.
or what's the?
I mean,
what do you have to do to keep that up?
That curb has very little maintenance, to be honest. Yeah, you'd probably want to clean out the curb, a couple times a year. Maybe, you get some silt that ends up, and that's typical of what a city would do in a curb gutter system. But every time you have a rain, also that's going to kind of flush that out too. And especially with that 15% slope the water will come down pretty good.
Do you
Yeah,
have
of course, if it, it's gonna have an aggregate base that it's sitting on, so the movement will be minimal. But if you have excessive movement, with freeze and thaw, maybe you have to replace a section of curb or that type of thing, potentially. The asphalt will probably have to be, see a seal coat after 6 to 8 years, possibly a mill and overlay after probably 12 to 15 years. So there's, a little bit of maintenance on the asphalt surface. They go concrete, it could last for much longer than that too. Of course, again, could move around but trying to minimize that with aggregate base.
How about the catch basin itself? Because you just said that it's gonna flush anything that sticks in there. I'm thinking leaves, debris, that kind of thing. How about maintenance of the catch basin itself? Is that gonna be needed? Because I can see that getting plugged up as well. And what kind of impact does that scenario have?
Yeah, I think, you'd certainly want to clean out leads and that type of thing, especially on the grate. I think the bottom of the catch basin itself will flush, on its own. But certainly you'd want to clean the leaves off of the grate. If by chance it was plugged, it certainly wouldn't be catastrophic. It would bypass the catch basin. It would probably take a little bit of a gully until you got it cleaned out.
And then just get into the soil.
What's that?
And then
And
just
it
leave
would
it
go right into the swale.
right into the
Yep. Yep. So the section of pipe is just very short to get to the swale. So.
Is this a design, this curb and gutter fix through a steep slope area, one that you've done in the past with any private residences? Or that you're aware of, not necessarily, I shouldn't limit it to just you, but.
Yeah. This probably exceeds what I've normally done in situations like this. We did one on Green Lake, which is kind of similar in nature to Lake Sylvia, I guess. That was about 18%, and that one we did not do a curb and gutter. We directed it down the roadway itself. That worked fine. I think this just gives us an extra level of protection, with that curb and gutter, so we're not eroding that bluff coming down, so.
I don't have anything else, thank you.
Sandy?
I'm gonna pass for right now because I think Dan's gonna answer my questions for me.
You think so?
I think so.
So Jason,
Yes.
I'm looking at the contours on the east side of the driveway, right in that curved area there. And my question, first of all, is what do you see for water coming down that east side? I'm looking at that property below it.
Mm-hmm.
And the contour on that property is 1054, which is the same as the last contour on your property.
Yep.
And so obviously my concern is that property below it. What kind of impact is that going to have from runoff?
Well, that's going to be, right now there is, that slope does come down onto that property in that area there.
Right.
So the only runoff that's going to come down now is anything south of the new driveway.
Because the rest will be
Everything
on the
else will
west
be
side,
directed to that curb.
through the curb. Yeah,
Yeah.
I understand that. Yep.
So that will be graded, topsoiled, seeded and matted in a very quick manner. So we intend to establish that, that vegetation to maintain that slope.
Yep.
And so, trying to basically, minimize any
It'll hopefully be
siltation.
better than
Yeah,
it is
yeah,
now.
right. That's the intention. So,
Okay.
I think there's less area that will be coming down to that property line than there is now. So,
Okay, thank you.
yep.
Janice, did you have something?
No.
there any other questions, concerns?
I just had a follow-up, just following up on Mr. Bravender's question and your answer. You said water's going to be coming down that slope, but it does run into a swale, which directs it toward the east garden. Is that correct?
In the proposed,
Yes.
everything that, from the driveway to the north, so including the driveway to
Okay,
the
I'm
north.
talking driveway to the southeast.
South of the driveway will continue to run south as it does
Yes,
now.
but it hits a point where doesn't it be picked up by a swale that's directed on the east side of the lot where your absorption garden is? Or no?
Yeah, I would say yes.
For the most
Before it
part?
gets to the septic, certainly, there is a swale in the existing contours that directs it over to there, so,
Okay, thank you.
yes.
Commissioner Moll, I have one question. If you look in this, okay, so the neighboring property to the right of this map, or I don't know, north or south, whatever, that driveway looks like, I mean, we don't see the end of the driveway, but that would be the bluff, right? That driveway to the neighboring, is that below the bluff as well? Is this the bluff
That would be the bottom of the bluff.
where that driveway is?
Yeah,
Where's the
you
end
you
of it?
go to the right of that driveway or to the north of it, when you're driving in there, it's straight up once you get off the road.
So
I've spent quite a bit of time back down on the end of that 77th Street that kind of ends at that house. I've spent a lot of time in there over the last 25 years, and it's straight uphill from the road.
So they went through the bluff to get up to the road? No?
75 years ago.
Yeah, okay.
I have just one question. Can you explain to me a little bit, when Jan asked you, she was under the impression that was a pond, that oval, egg-shaped, to the west side. You said that was an island? Can you explain that?
Yeah, just a landscaped island. It's an area that they just want to come, be able to turn around with vehicles. And
It's
yeah,
an area of grass with driveway all the way around
Yeah,
it.
I love to flower garden, so it's just flowers. There's island for my petunias.
Circular driveway around that.
Okay. So the driveway does not then extend down the west side of the house? Or does it just have a circle there, but then like a roundabout and then continues down the west side?
it does not continue past the house.
No,
So
but it goes down
ends
to
at
the house.
Yeah, it goes down, essentially goes down to the house and then curves,
This is
comes-
driveway.
comes
this-
back
this
around.
is- This is driveway and area for parking. Is kind of what they show here. So this is that little island in the middle. This will be grass or flower beds or whatever, and then this is all driveway. Right here.
Okay.
Dan?
Okay, Sandy?
Yep,
Janice?
thank you.
I remembered the question that I had for the owner. When you were having the soil samples taken, were you planning to put a basement here or just a slab?
No basement. I don't, it sounds like there isn't a lot of basements along there, so we were just gonna do slab on grade.
There's,
Well, that was my question, was,
lowest floor elevation requirements will not allow a basement on this site. They're building the house at the very minimum elevation that they can by rule. Our rules state that the lowest floor elevation must be 4 feet above the highest known water level. Those numbers inside the proposed house at 1055.35, they couldn't put any opening lower than that elevation. So they're not high enough above the lake in this location to do a basement.
yeah.
So this is slab on grade home. That's all they can do here.
So you would be, if you were leveling this all out to make a flat foundation then for your house, because as I understand, looking at the pictures, that perhaps it kind of goes down in the middle of your lot there, and you'd have to build that up somewhat. Is that correct? And you would just be bringing that in from, or just transferring it from one part of the property to the other? Is that what you'd be doing there?
Yeah, there would be some fill that's needed there. If we are able to obtain suitable material for underneath the house, we would build the pad out of that on site. Whatever we can't provide underneath the house, as far as suitable material, we would be bringing in. Probably at least that last 6 inches would be a sand cushion that would be used
Yeah.
underneath the concrete, so.
Underneath the concrete? So that's extra fill then that would be brought in from the outside? Because you
That-
wouldn't be able to
yeah,
gather
that-
that from,
That would be included in what I had earlier referred to as surfacing and base material.
okay.
So you'd have base and surfacing for the driveway, but also for the house itself. You'd have a base material and a surface.
And how many square yards would that be then, would you guess? It's a big house.
Yeah, I can't tell you right offhand. I don't have that number.
Okay.
I could figure that if it,
Okay, well, I was just curious because that could have an impact, you know, on the amount of trucks and so on going up and down too. I built a house like this with a slab, and I know that we had to do quite a bit of leveling and so on and so forth, so to make it all happen, so it requires work.
it does.
Thank you.
All right, I'm gonna have a chairman's break for 10 minutes because we haven't even started to discuss up here yet. So if we could just take a quick break here, it's 10 o'clock already, and
All right.
Nobody reads, nobody gets the paper.
Are we ready, Barry?
I'm good to go.
We'll bring the meeting back to order, please.
Order.
How does the board want to do? We want to have some discussion up here for a little while? Is there any other questions of the applicants that anybody has?
Are we closing the public?
No, we're not
hearing?
closing anything. I'm just, does anybody have any questions of the applicant?
No?
Do you, I guess, how does the board want to proceed right now? Does anybody have any questions? I guess my one question is, I think the applicants have done a very good job at changing things up, but directing the water, controlling the water coming down there. The one question I would have for the board is, in the past, through the denial, one of the key portions of the denial was going through a bluff. I guess before we go too far or, do site inspections or anything, I think we need to discuss as a board, is there any way that this board is going to allow a driveway of this going through a bluff? But then I would also ask if they have to access the lake, and I know at the last meeting I brought this up, how much damage will they do going through a bluff, just accessing the lake and going down and playing down there? What is the best way to be able to work with this property and be able to utilize the lake, whether the house is up on top or if the house is down on bottom? We still have to have access to that lake, and we need to be able to control the water going down where we're accessing it. Those are where I'm at, and is there any way that this board will allow access to the lake formally with a tar road with a curb and gutter to control the water? Or does this board more feel like leaving it access through and up and down a dirt road, up and down, that can wash out? I mean, for me, with the property sitting down there, they've met all of the setbacks that I look at for Board of Adjustments. They're controlling all of their water. They're pushing all the sewer back up to the top. But it gets to that point, and this is the hard question for this board. It's dealing with a bluff, and I have to deal with it on the Board of Adjustments also. And it's a very, very hard subject in Wright County, Lake Sylvia. It's no secret, we have to go out on the Board of Adjustments for a site inspection tomorrow about a house in a bluff. So I guess that's a question I would like the board to debate, and how we're going to handle that portion of it. Because as far as what they're doing with the house, as far as what they're doing with all of the water, they've dotted a lot of the i's and crossed a lot of the t's, but we have to come to that elephant in the room, the bluff. And how are we going to work through that?
The elephant for me is that northwest quadrant plan. It's our plan. Sorry, I thought I had a big enough mouth. I said my elephant is that northwest quadrant plan. I mean, if I get questioned about that, why did we go against our own plan? I want to have a good answer for it. What makes this unique to go against our own plan? And I believe they have worked hard and answered questions that we've put to them and stuff. But that's my one thing that's still sticking.
Commissioner Mull, I agree with you. The problem I have with the bluff is that not only and it's a good plan. I like the plan, and it's got a unique cut that driveway will be a low impact to that bluff, I believe, because like you said. But then there's other lots that are gonna go through the bluff. And that's what's scary the last time, is that there's other lots here. They're gonna wanna go through the bluff. We're setting a precedence to go through the bluff. So, I don't know. And it is our ordinance.
We're setting ourselves up.
We're setting ourselves up.
This is what I'm asking for. I'm asking for debate. Pat, did you have
The idea that we are setting ourselves up, being used as a decision-making tool, is a good one. It's not one that this board has historically, in my humble opinion, done a great job at.
I agree.
And I've often been on the other side of it, trying to give that warning, and why I don't think it gets us in trouble here. If I'm understanding this right, we have put this applicant through the ringer, rightfully so, looks like they should have been. And just because you get put through the ringer and just because you can go out and hire a bunch of experts to come in and say is a good plan, doesn't mean you get approval. But what we do have, I think, is a plan that is adapted to protect the sensitive natural area of the bluff to the extent practical. I can't see what more ought be done here that allows for development in a manner that is consistent with nearby development and overall is consistent, in my view, with our Northwest Quadrant plan. I don't think our Northwest Quadrant plan says, thou shalt not touch a bluff. When they wrote it, if they wanted to do that, they could have said that. They didn't. I think that there are reasonable interpretations of it that could lead it to both ways, both outcomes, the same way that it was the last time around. I just think we're here with a better, more adapted plan that does more to protect the natural environment than it did even at that second stage. And if the neighbor comes in and says, you gave it, my neighbor got approval for this, or that guy over on Sylvia got approval for this. Well, if those folks can come in with a plan that is so well adapted to the bluff that we can look at it and say, that's what our plan is intended to do, is to allow for this sort of development where it makes sense while at the same time protecting the valuable resource that we've declared steep slopes to be, then that's an okay precedent as far as I'm concerned.
Janice?
Well, can you hear me? Okay. Am I talking loud enough? One of the things that bothers me about this is something that goes back into sort of like the old days, the history. I know at the lake where I have a cabin, my cabin was the very first one that was built there on that particular stretch of lakeshore. And as that was platted back in the 1920s, I think, and then gradually people put little cabins around, and they were spaced far apart, and everybody had a place to go to the outhouse and all that stuff. Well, as the years went on, the value of the cabins went up a little, and so on, and then as things changed, all of a sudden the little cabins started going away, and the bigger cabins started coming, and all the natural environment that was around us in my area disappeared. It was one house after another, tearing little cabins down and building up large houses. Eventually, the cabin that my husband and I bought, the land was worth more than the cabin was, and so we ended up tearing down our cabin too and building a house. And now there are more houses and more houses and more houses, and we have no more natural environment left really down there anymore to enjoy or see. And people drive by on the boats and they look and they point and they go, ooh, and that kind of stuff. But the feeling of Mother Nature and what the lakeshore was really like isn't there anymore. It's gone. And this site here at the campgrounds for the church. That was built so that it would hide the buildings away, and people could drive by and still see a part of Lake Sylvia that was pretty much more natural than developed. And when that was purchased from the church and torn down, the whole idea of the developer was to put houses around there and to change the whole scope of things. And one of the things I liked about having the development up on top of the hill was that it left part of the natural environment down there for future generations to see a little bit of Lake Sylvia that's still there, that's untouched by human beings. And the bluff has been somewhat changed already, and I haven't been there myself since we were all there together for the inspection. I have no idea what it looks like anymore. It's hard to tell from those pictures what's been going on with the amount of things that have changed or whatever. I guess I wouldn't object to going to look at the site again and see what changes have really occurred there. And when they're talking about setting the house back the 100 feet, you know, what that does to change anything in my mind, if it could change anything. But the feeling that our ordinances have, we've been saying, you know, we reached the decision based on the bluff and changing the use of the property. And by accepting this plan and giving it approval, I'm not really sure that I'm at all comfortable with that, but I would be willing to go and take another look at the site to see if there's anything there that would make me change my mind, because I did vote no against development of this site, and my feeling is still that if there's a way to get down the hill safely and not to disrupt any more of the bluff, which I'm not sure it can do, I'd like to know that, though, before I would make any further decisions. So I would be in favor of a site inspection if we're going to do anything.
Now, you do know, though, that even if they put the house on the top of the bluff, that wouldn't take the natural, if they wanted to, they could put a boathouse there.
Yeah.
They could put whatever they wanted there. That's gonna change, similar to the farmers that had beautiful farmland by me, and they're all now houses. I mean, that's progress. They want what you have, you know, a house on the lake. And so we have to think of that. I do like Commissioner Malberg's statement. I don't know. I think that it is a unique property, and I do like the fact that the drainage is maintained. So yeah, I'm pretty up in the air on this yet, but I'm leaning more towards Pat's.
Can I go here first?
Sure.
Dan?
Okay, Mr. Chair, thank you. Well, my position on this hasn't changed from the last time we voted on it. However, it is a 100% improvement in the plan. One of my biggest concerns is, my first question was already taken by Commissioner Holland, as far as structures being built by the lake. That whatever is an accessory structure that can be approved will be built by the lake. It's gonna change, regardless of what this board does tonight. It's gonna change. When it comes to the improvement on the bluff, I think that this drastically improves the water runoff that's coming down that bluff as it sits right now. As it sits right now, with the curb containment system to catch the water as it comes down, and to, with a slow release, it's gonna spread that over the vegetative area. Okay? Third, I actually think this is gonna make it a lot better for the neighbor to the southeast. Because if you remember the site visit when we went out there, now you could see when he walked down that hill, how the bluff had the potential to shed water over that southeast property. It's like a quarter of an acre. And I think this is gonna hold a lot of that back with this design. When it comes to the house that's being built down there, it's their house. It's their house.
I know.
I'm not here to judge who's gonna build what kind of a house. It's their house. So as far as the biggest thing that we're to deal with is that alteration on the bluff. That's what we're here to deal with. And they're not building the house on the bluff. I know for Board of Adjustment, that would be a big no-no, right? If they're building a house, we went through this in Cokato Township, right? So if they're building a house on the bluff, that's a big no-no.
It's a pretty solid no.
Yeah, pretty
that's on
solid.
record.
Yeah.
They're not building a house on the bluff. They're actually making the situation better for everybody all around. That's where I stand right now.
Janice, did you have something more you wanted to add? Ken?
Well, I guess I haven't spoken to this yet, but I've consistently, except for the original motion, the original CUP that granted this subdivision with the right, I might add, for lots 5 and 6 to come back to this commission should they wish to explore building down by the lake. Subsequent to that, I've consistently voted no because of the impacts. We've had the first plan rejected by this commission, second plan rejected by this commission, and I believe this is the third plan, if I'm not mistaken, Mr. Chair. I do note that this is a substantial betterment, I guess you'd call it, of original grading plans. One thing that struck me tonight is that, yes, if the home has to be up on top of the hill, there would be accessory buildings down on the lakeside. There again, impacting the bluff in some manner. Perhaps in a manner that would not be as corrective as this current plan to get down to the house. I believe I like this plan. I like the idea where the water's going. If you want to build a house down there in that lower area, that's up to you. That's great. That's fine. You're free to do that. What held me back when I voted no twice previously were the sentiments of the elected Southside Township supervisors. I think what we all have to understand here is that this bluff would be impacted either way, whether there's accessory buildings down there or a home. In this case, it's a home. I believe it's a great design. I don't know if a designer would have gone to this extent to access accessory buildings down at the lake. I don't know. Maybe they would have had to. Maybe this board would have discussed it and demanded such a thing. But I'm leaning towards support on this one, Mr. Chair, because of all the improvements that have been made. Now, one spoke that we have a bluff ordinance. That is correct. But if we have an ordinance here, what are we doing here? I mean, we're here to allow some wiggle room, I believe, in our ordinances. And it had been mentioned tonight that I don't know what else could be done. I mean, this has got to be the end of the road. And I think over the years, they've been some pretty heroic efforts here to make this work. And I believe we're at the point where it's either got to be yes, no right now. So, but right now, as we sit, I'm leaning towards support of this current plan, Mr. Chair. That's all I have to say.
Thank you, Ken. Sandy, you have anything else you want to add?
No.
Okay, that's fine. Well, is somebody willing to make a motion, or how does the board want to proceed? We're at that crossroads. I think Ken said it well.
Mr. Chair, I'm prepared to make a motion.
Okay.
I would like to make a motion for staff to direct findings for approval for this request.
Do I have a second? I have a motion.
I'll second.
Motion made and seconded. Do we have any other discussion?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, that motion should be to close the public hearing to all further written and oral comment, direct council to prepare findings consistent with approval based on the plans and discussion at tonight's hearing, and continue the matter to the meeting of November 7th.
I couldn't have said it better myself.
I know.
Cheryl, who did you have on the second?
Okay.
Is that good with you, Jeannie?
Yes, it's good with me.
Okay.
One more, just a quick bit of discussion, Mr. Chairman, on this before the vote is cast. In this discussion, you know, there's been a lot of talk about, you know, them still being able to access and the impact of that with that existing trail that goes down. This plan doesn't include any corrections or remedies to that. Does the commission want to see conditions in relation to that? Because that path is going to stay in place. If anything isn't done with it, you still could potentially run into the same issue.
So are you saying on that path that is existing, that needs to be recaptured or restored?
I'm asking if the commission would like conditions that do that very thing.
I would like to see that, Mr. Chair.
Yes, I agree.
Just, sorry, Mr. Chair.
Go ahead.
When you start talking about corrective and remedies, Barry, the source of that trail predates this owner, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's been there for, I think there was testimony that it was a haul road, I'm not gonna guess your age, a while ago. So the 1950, we're 75 years into the area having been stabilized through a bluff. If we're gonna start talking about taking corrective action that this owner didn't cause, that's fine. But then I wanna see Mr. Versteeg engineer all of how that is going to be recaptured and then restored so that it doesn't cause a problem greater than currently exists.
Mr. Chair, my response to that would be, when Mr. Donick is out there, have him elbow the landscape guy and say, put a blanket down there. That's all. Put something to stop the erosion. Nothing elaborate, no big plans. We don't need plans, just suggest. Okay, let's put it as a strong suggestion.
Well,
But that, we can't
Why
put
not?
a strong suggestion out there that hopefully they do something.
Well, if
The
they-
motion was to include that, or the idea is to include it as part of a motion that they're gonna take corrective action and we don't know what it is. Like that, to me, that's not fair to the people who are gonna be looking at this,
Okay.
either receiving approval or those who are gonna be upset that approval was received.
All right, okay, let's calm down here. I'm the guy that's got to calm down, because I'm looking for a simple solution. Yeah, that trail's there, throw some blanket on it, throw some seeds on it.
Just as an example, Commissioner Malberg, it could be as easy as, you know, a condition to that the engineer provide a plan for that at the time of building permit application. Now, whether or not, I'm just asking whether or not you want to.
For what? Do what to an area that's been a road for 75 years? Restore it to its 1949 condition?
Just a plan to address erosion potential of that thing that already exists that has some erosion on it, because they've already shown in pictures and slides where there is erosion, and they put in riprap and other things. So is that sufficient for you? Then fine, don't ask for it. I'm just bringing up, this was brought up by the commission that they can still access, it's still gonna be an erosion problem. Well, now they're opening up a new route. Do you want them to do something to fix the old route as part of the condition for approval? That's what I'm asking.
My thought on it is, if that gets included, we should direct staff to say nothing more than best management practices will be instituted on that road, because we have no record to say what else should be done on it.
Well, may I speak?
Okay, go ahead, Janice.
I'm sorry I brought that up. You know, 'cause
No,
I don't think we have to make it this complicated. And I agree, we won't address conditions specifically, but hey, just kind of say in the findings that, and he's nodding his head over there, so, come on, let's keep it simple, folks.
Yep, we've got, Janice, go ahead.
What did you agree to something?
No,
He can't.
he can't right now.
Okay.
You have the floor. He can't agree to nothing.
Well, I know that from the time that we first went out there, way back when they were first talking about taking the camp down, that the roadway that's going down to the lake now has been greatly changed since these people have purchased the property. And they've gone up and down it a lot. They've been using it. They've been using the bluff. I don't think it's beyond reason to expect that if I own a piece of property and I've gone through all of this trouble to build huge retaining walls on each side of this road that I was attempting to build to go down to the bottom of the hill, and I have taken dirt and trees and things out of there. You haven't been out there for a while. You don't know what it looks like. And I don't know either, but I know the last time that I drove, because I did drive by there and go down the cul-de-sac just to see what was going on. There's a lot of vegetation that's been taken away from up there on top of the bluff that could be very easily asked to be restored, because they won't be using that pathway anymore. If they've got a paved road going down to the water, that's going to alleviate the problems that are created by going down the bluff. I don't see what your big deal is about not wanting to put something in there about taking care of what they've been using for the pathway. If we're going to give approval to have a different pathway to go down there, why we can't ask for some vegetation to be in that spot?
Commissioner Moll, I think in all practicality, they're going to fix it, because otherwise it's going to go rushing right into their home.
Well,
Staff understands the discussion. We'll make sure we take care of it in the findings.
Okay, thank you.
because what I was gonna say is they have a design here that does not include that. So
Right.
they're gonna have to do something to maintain that so it doesn't run into their, I mean, they're just gonna have to do it. I don't know that needs to be in the motion.
I don't think we need to,
Or whatever.
Can I call the question, Mr. Chair?
yes.
Okay, all those in favor of the motion, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same way. Motion carries.
I did not vote.
Oh, I didn't, sorry, I did not see that. So Janice abstained. All right, so we're continued until next month for findings of approval for everybody.
Mr. Chairman, that first item,
Yes, so moving back to the first item on the agenda. Has anybody come for Coal Shake? Is anybody here for Coal Shake?
Not me, I just want to sign.
Is anybody here for,
Put up on the document camera.
for Coal Shake?
yeah, all those pictures we need to keep.
All right. Being Coal Shake is not here,
I can always make copies and give them back to
I
them.
think we're within the time limit, are we
Barry, how
not?
are our time limits on that first item?
Before,
Working on the Coal Shake thing.
We have until 12/27/2024.
Mr. Chair, I'd recommend continuing it to the next agenda to give the applicant time to appear.
11/7,
Make
yes.
that motion to continue to the November 7th hearing, the coal shake
I'll
matter.
second
I'll
that.
second that.
Okay, we have multiple seconds and have a motion. Is there any discussion?
Set site inspection.
If there's no discussion, all those signify by saying aye that agree.
Aye.
Opposed, same way. Motion carries.
Continue to November
Mr. Chair,
7th.
site inspection then.
We have to set a site inspection, and also we have talked about the December meeting.
Yes.
Uh,
I'll take care of that, Greg. I got you covered. You can
You're
go.
good. I'll be around.
He's got to be here early in the morning. I don't.
So does Jeannie.
I gotta be in Monticello at 8:30.
Yeah. I get to keep the labor piece.
Go ahead, Barry.
The December meeting, we just need a motion to move it back to 6:30. We had some miscommunication on that TNT meeting. It's not going to be that night, so we do want that back to the 6:30 start time.
6:30.
For the December meeting?
December 12th?
Yep. Okay,
December 12th is going to be at 6:30.
yep, and just a reminder, next month in November, we come in at 6:30, we start that time, just so everybody
Yeah,
knows
the
on
November
board.
meeting starts at 6:30,
We
and
don't have
then,
another meeting before.
No. We do have a site inspection we have to set right
Yes.
now.
Okay.
So what does it look like for everybody for a site inspection before our next meeting?
I'm gone 2 of the next 3 weeks, so don't worry about me. You guys set whatever.
Yeah, we don't care.
Yeah, we have
We
Scott- we have Scott
two
and
other
Josh.
good guys.
You do a great job.
That don't, and Josh didn't
No
back into a
mailbox.
mailbox.
Which one are
so-
we doing a site inspection on? I'm sorry.
Mississippi
Oh,
River.
Miss-
I had to
Yeah,
work.
you're
I
gonna-
was here late.
So what do we got
What
open?
number?
Pete,
Thank you.
it says Paul Gilbert.
Oh, Paul Schillewart.
It's actually Pete.
It's supposed to be Pete is his name.
Pete.
I've known him since he was born. Thank you.
Call him Paul.
Well, it was Paul and he corrected us.
I was trying to figure out who Paul Shellquist was. Trust me.
So what are we looking at? Next meeting is the 7th of November. When do we want to do a site
Well, the
inspection?
Monday before, like, it kind of sits, kind of,
On the 4th, 4th of November?
yeah, is that deer hunting?
It's before. the
I
day
got a
before
couple
the
no's I
election.
hear.
What?
When is
It's the
that?
day before
Day
the
before
election.
elections.
Yeah. Are you an election judge?
Yes, I'm head judge.
Oh.
Deer season doesn't start until the 9th, so you got a whole week in there.
Oh, that's late. Oh, so you're election judge that day, huh?
How about the 6th?
Yeah. It's a Wednesday?
What? Do it
Yeah.
for him from his Cokato Township.
I'm
Do it
having-
at 7:30 in the morning for him since he's the head judge. He'd
I
really
have
appreciate it
sur-
on the
I have
6th.
eye surgery on the 6th. Can we do it a different day?
They're one of the first to come in always.
Can we do it the 7th
7th of,
November?
We have a meeting.
that's the day of the meeting.
Oh, God.
Yes, they're too big.
Why can't we do it the 4th? Can we do it the week
Can't do
before?
anything in October.
Can we do anything in the last week of October, 28th to the 31st?
I'm fine with that.
The
28th.
31st?
28th, that works good for me.
21st or 14th.
The 20th, I don't have to move anything. That works for me.
28th, what's the day on it? What's the?
Monday.
Monday.
Can't do it
Yeah,
the
Mondays are
28th. I got
typically good for
PAC
me.
test.
21st.
Typically what?
29th.
Mondays are typically good for me.
21st works.
You know how that works.
21st works?
21st, okay with me.
Hang on, I'm getting there. 21st works for me.
I don't have my,
9 o'clock?
8:30.
Yeah.
We don't like this.
It
9
won't
o'clock
work for me.
is it the 3rd?
All
Who's
right,
when?
9 o'clock.
No, it won't work for me.
When?
What?
9 o'clock on the 21st.
21st.
It won't work
9
for me.
o'clock.
I won't be there.
You won't?
On
You're gone?
October?
9 o'clock at the courthouse.
21st doesn't work for you, Jan?
How about the
I have a
28th?
doctor's appointment that day.
How about the 28th?
No.
28th doesn't work for Dan.
Oh, because it's
Well,
election.
every day seems to not work for somebody, so pick a date.
Yep.
22nd, what's that look like?
That's Tuesdays, so they're
No,
terrible for me.
that's a Monday, November 25th. is a Monday.
Wednesday, the 23rd.
Commissioner, that Tuesday is not a board meeting, Tuesday.
Tuesday, the 22nd?
Nope,
Is it a workshop?
nope.
Really?
Oh,
Why is that?
22nd works.
We have a 3-week gap.
22nd work for you, Jan?
22nd?
How'd that happen?
Yeah, that should work.
Actually,
Ken?
I'm here.
Well, then we
22nd
can
work
do the
for you?
22nd.
I think so.
Dan, 22nd work for you? Pat, 22nd work for you?
No. But I'll separately drive up to the river.
Okay.
Time?
Okay.
9 o'clock, I
Second it
guess.
is. 9 o'clock.
I can do 8:30 that day.
People don't want
He
to
can
get
do
out of bed.
8:30
I
that
can do
day.
8:30 that day.
I don't care.
Monday I just can't, but
I'm ready at 7 o'clock personally, but
Oh, God.
I guess so, 9 o'clock on the 22nd,
22nd, yeah, 9 o'clock, 22nd.
it's done.
I'm going to
9 o'clock,
just
22nd courthouse.
meet you there because this is like a mile from my house.
Yeah, I'll probably meet you there too.
Yeah.
Dan, before we go away, I want to talk about something here.
Okay. So is there anything else, Barry, we've got that we need? We got site inspection done, we got the 6:30 for December done.
And we got the first item done. As far as I know, that's it.
Show us which piece
Now,
of
is it some,
property
is
we're
it,
touring.
Janice, is it something that's gotta be on record?
There's no
or is it
address.
Something you
No,
wanna talk
it's
about?
just something that we've talked about, workshop for ourselves, a meeting.
Do you want it on the record?
No,
Okay.
no, I just.
Do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, it's over.
Okay.